Morning, and welcome to all of you to our June 4th, 2019 Board of County Commissioners meeting. And today we are proud that our invocation will be led by Rabbi Michael Torup, and he is from Temple Bell from St. Petersburg. Everybody please stand, and thereafter the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Justice.
Thank you. To the great animating, life-giving spirit of the universe, the wellspring of wholeness and peace, to the clear single light that in Proverbs is called Ner Adonai, the candle of the eternal, and as the verse continues to name it, Nishmat Adam, the soul of humanity. To you, O holy source of my light, soul of my soul, we ask you for your blessing. May the divine presence be felt here this morning at the beginning of Pride Month, on this, the first meeting of the Pinellas County Commission during a month focused on tearing down the walls of discrimination that have been built to separate our LGBTQ plus friends and fellow Pinellas County residents from us. A wall defining us on one side as the so-called norm, the mainstream. A wall that protects us as we point our fingers at them and cry out, keep the others away from me. No, my friends, that is assuredly not the mandate we've given to our elected commissioners. Their mandate is to build relationships of inclusion and affirmation, of loving kindness and grace, relationships that ensure that the presence of the Holy One dwells here. This they will do by their actions, by the quality of their deliberations, by making decisions and setting policy that increases justice and equality. Not just this month, but every month, every week, every day, as they lift up the downtrodden, the forgotten ones, the most vulnerable at the fringes of our county. They do this because during Pride Month and every other month, they are dedicated to lifting up love and not hate, honor and mutual respect rather than prejudice and disdain. Our county government is one that joins our cry, affirming that it is neither right nor just nor fair nor legal to denigrate any human being as the other, to abuse women and treat our sisters as less than our brothers, to treat people of color different from those whose skin is white, to treat cisgender as somehow better than gender fluid or gender non-binary or transgender or any other diverse expression of human identity. And so, O God, as our commissioners set out this day to do their work and to do their duty, let us all be mindful of our creation. In the book of Genesis, and God said, let us make humanity in our image after our likeness. Every human being is equally created in the image of something beyond ourselves. Each of us is equally a reflection of the holiness. Each of us contains an equal spark of the divine, and each of our lives is individually a whole world unto itself. When the efforts of our county commission bring dignity to all who live within our jurisdiction, you are doing God's work. When you provide all our citizens with the services they need and the opportunities they must have to enhance the quality of their lives, you are doing God's work. And when you enable all of us to realize our fullest potential as individuals who reflect the image of God, you are doing God's work. Nishmat Adam, the human soul, Ner Adonai is the light of the eternal. Tend to that flame. Keep the light burning. Save one soul today and each day that follows, and know that in so doing you save the world. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful message. Okay, I'm coming down for presentations and awards, and first we'll start with the Pride Month proclamation. I'd like to ask the representatives from St. Pete Pride, Equality Florida, and staff from the Office of Human Rights to join me here at the podium. Once everybody's up here, I'll have you introduce yourselves. Can we just-
Morning. Hi.
We got a nice crowd today.
Won't bite.
We're very happy about that.
Susan.
Good morning.
Jeffrey Lord, Office of Human Rights.
Paul Valenti, Office of Human Rights.
I'll have you just pass it along.
We can do that. Nathan Broomer, I'm the Vice President of St. Pete Pride and the organizer of the Trans Pride March.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Todd Richardson, and I'm the Pinellas Development Director for Equality Florida.
Good morning, Fernando Chonqui, Development Director for St. Pete Pride.
Hello, everyone. Luke Blankenship, Executive Director for St. Pete Pride.
Good morning. My name is Sion Crowder. I am the past president of St. Pete Pride and current board member.
Good morning, Susan McGrath, St. Pete Pride board member.
Good morning, Chris Bundy, current president of St. Pete Pride.
Thank you, and we're very, very pleased that you're with us today. Many of the residents, business owners, and employees of county government within Pinellas County who contribute to the enrichment of our community are a part of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning community. In the movement for full civil rights under law for the LGBTQ+ community, a monumental turning point occurred on June 28, 1969 in New York City with the occurrence of the Stonewall riots. In the 50 years since, LGBTQ+ celebrations have taken place across the United States in June to commemorate this historic event. And every June, the St. Pete Pride Parade and Festival, the largest pride event in Florida, and one of the most celebrated in the world, with over 250,000 attendees, takes place in St. Petersburg and in, of course, Pinellas County. And the Board of County Commissioners is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, equity, and security for all communities within Pinellas County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners that June 2019 be recognized as Pride Month. And we have a proclamation to share with you, and I just want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for all that you've done for our county and for our community. It's really critical. You guys have all been trendsetters and breaking ground and making this county an even better place to live, work, and play. And we just can't thank you enough. So would anybody like to speak?
So on behalf of the entire board, thank you for having us here today. Excuse me. June 22nd, or that weekend, is our big Pride celebration, and it's not just about St. Pete, it's the entire county. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Anyone else?
As we all know, Florida is a tourism state. Our #1 industry is tourism, so it's important that we project that we are welcoming to all, and that's what I'd like to say about the county commission is, you guys have been so far ahead of every county commission in Florida, always welcoming, always being inclusive and diverse. And look at what we do here in bed tax and hotel tax, how much money we raise, and how much fun we have in Pinellas County, right? It's a fun county to live in.
I agree.
I just wanted to say this is a banner year for prides across the world. 50 years ago, the Stonewall riots happened, which sparked the modern LGBT movement. And I'm sure the majority of people who were at those riots 50 years ago could not imagine the movement that has taken place for LGBT rights across the world. I mean, just to sit here today and to have a rabbi come in and talk about LGBT protections and justice is a testament to how far we've come.
I especially like the wisdom, grace, and inclusionary part of your message. Paul, I'd like you to talk a little bit about Office of Human Rights and what we do.
All right, very good. So, thank you, Commissioner. The Office of Human Rights is proud to enforce anti-discrimination legislation throughout the county for all communities in housing, employment, and places of public accommodation. But to pick up on the words of our friends in the community here, we're especially proud of the fact that we have the privilege of enforcing policy that's set by a board that truly embraces of inclusiveness and diversity in our county. It makes it a privilege to be a human rights and civil rights professional when you have a board that adopts policies that are correct and right. So thank you.
I just want to add a little bit of a personal message. Again, I thank you. My younger son is turning 30 on June 22nd, and he and his partner Travis are being married next year. And without all that you all have done individually and collectively, I would not see this happy occasion happen. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've done. We've got 3 plaques. I'm not sure who's...
So that we're...
Looks good. Okay, nice smile. One second. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
How you doing? Parade. Can you stop by my office and just give my assistant your phone number? Okay, I'll give you a call. Thank you.
Remind you. That's a serious pack of tabs.
Well, you know.
You're a serious guy, I know.
I'm going to mark up all the justices.
Next, I'd like to ask our administrator, Barry Burton, and Angela Dunkel to join me here at the podium. We are going to do our Doing Things Employee Recognition Award. Our employees work hard every day to make our community better. In our ongoing video program, we recognize individuals who exemplify the dedication of our Pinellas County team. It's only through our employees and the excellent work that they do that we fulfill our vision to be the standard in public service in America. Angela Dunkel ensures new projects stay on track to meet the growing needs of residents and visitors at our St. Pete Clearwater International Airport. Her expertise as an engineering technician guides a range of complex improvements from expanded parking to new security systems. And indeed, she has quite a challenge right now. There's a lot of construction going on the airport and around the airport. Her hard work directly supports Pinellas County's goal of fostering economic growth and vitality at an airport that now serves more than 2 million passengers each year. So we have a video that gives us a snapshot of the work that Angela does every day, and we'll go ahead and play that right now.
As St. Pete Clearwater International Airport expands after 6 years of double-digit growth, Angela Dunkel is busy behind the scenes making sure its multi-million-dollar improvement projects stay on track. Expanded parking, security upgrades, a new maintenance facility. These are just a few of the key projects Angela helps coordinate at the airport.
My job on a daily basis could be working on coordination of underground sewer lines to interior design, which is pretty awesome because it's something different every day.
The county-owned airport has surpassed a record 2 million annual passengers, and a new master plan is underway to prepare for future growth.
So all of these changes are allowing us to meet that growth as we move forward. It accommodates for the growth and future expansion of the airport, whether it's terminal-related parking, inside, outside, airfield.
As an engineering technician, Angela is involved in each step of these projects, from design to build-out. She works closely with her team at the airport and partners ranging from public safety officials to contractors.
The team effort is amazing. We have a very great crew here.
Angela moved from upstate New York to Pinellas County just a couple years ago. She's proud to support the county's goal of fostering economic growth and vitality at an airport with $1 billion impact on the local community.
I love the fact that I am a county employee because I know that everything we're doing, whether it's in my department or in other departments, we're working to better the area, better the community.
For visitors coming to enjoy our area for the first time, or for locals who appreciate convenient travel around the country, Angela is helping to build a better airport for all who travel to and from Pinellas County.
I am Angela Dunkel, and I am Pinellas County.
Wow. Would you like to share a few words with us?
Well, I really just wanted to say it's an honor to receive this award, and I really appreciate the recommendations that I received, and I will continue to be doing things for many years to come.
That's great. Tom?
Sure, absolutely. No, we're very proud of Angela. She's an important part of our team. And to think, like you said, all the construction work that's going out there, we've got a engineering division of two, Scott and Angela. So, you know, to handle, as we're doing $50 million right now in construction, with about 7 different projects, they're doing a lot of great things and doing a lot for the community and the betterment of the airport at the same time. So we're very proud of Angela and the rest of the team. And she does a lot more than just on the engineering front. A lot of the other divisions within the airport rely heavily on Angela. So we're glad to have her with us. We're going on about 3 years now.
No, I'll just go Tom. He explained it all there.
And Barry.
Well, and just again, thank you so much for everything you do. It's not just the visible projects, but it's the infrastructure behind the scenes that we don't see, then all the planning that goes into that, what makes a great project. So we can see all the activity, and we know you're busy, and we really appreciate the coordination and the care you put in to making these projects happen. Yeah, so thank you so much.
It's such a wonderful airport, and it's going to be even better when all of the construction is finished. When do we anticipate that?
We will be talking about that in great detail here in a little while.
During the master plan update? Yes. Okay. Well, very good. Well, again, thank you and congratulations. We're very, very appreciative of all that you're doing for us.
Whoa.
1, 2, 3.
Come on, Ken.
1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Sean. I was just about to harass you. That's how scary this is.
That's what that was.
Okay, we now move on to the public hearing part of our agenda, and we will start with the Countywide Planning Authority, Agenda Item 3.
Items 3 and 4 are proposed amendments to the countywide plan map. The public hearing was properly advertised. The affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matters are properly before the authority to be heard.
I have no cards. This is a public hearing part of our of this agenda item. Does anyone wish to speak to this agenda item? I'll close the public hearing.
Move approval. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gerard and second by Commissioner Long.
think it's not joining. I'm a yes.
There you go. Got it.
Okay, it's a unanimous approval. Agenda item 4.
Thank you. She already read the announcement. She read the announcement for both.
What?
She did the announcement for both already. So you can go ahead with the public hearing.
I can't hear you.
She did the announcement for both already.
Oh, okay, she did 4 already. Okay, sorry. Okay, so agenda item 4, it is open for public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
Move approval. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Long, second by Commissioner Gerard.
All right, I still don't have one. I'm a yes again. It's not working.
Probably have to close it all
Okay,
the way
it's
out.
unanimous approval. Very good. Moving on to the consent agenda, items 5 through 13. Does anyone wish to pull anything?
Number 6, please.
6?
I'm just going to read through it.
6 as well.
6? Okay. Anything else? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the rest of the agenda, consent agenda, absent item 6.
Move approval. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gerard, second by Commissioner Long. What's wrong with our system today?
And I'll be a yes again.
Okay, unanimous approval. Agenda item 6. Commissioner Eggers and Commissioner Welch.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, again, I think this is one of the best things that we got going in Pinellas County, and that is a long time ago, we decided to establish CRAs in our primarily in the beginning in our cities and now in the county. So obviously a wonderful tool that allows folks that have visions about their communities to fund extraordinary dollars to improve their community, and at some point eventually increase the tax base to such a degree that when we get the taxes back, they will have been better than they would have been otherwise. And to the residents of the county and to the residents of each of those communities, it's good stuff. And I really appreciate, just want to take the chance to do 2 things. One is to thank our Division of Inspector General for the work that they do on a lot of things across our county, because it's really an important aspect. This particular audit, this was a follow-up audit of the tax increment financing of our CRAs with management responses, and maybe at some future time we can maybe take a look at our CRAs, which are just doing such a great job, and talk a little bit about where we are now with them and where we're heading. But I noticed that there were some management or some requests for some changes or implementations have not happened. And one of the things that we have a responsibility to do is to make sure that the folks that are taking these extra tax dollars are doing the things they're supposed to be doing. So some of these things have not been implemented, and just thought maybe if somebody from the Inspector General's office is here, maybe they could speak a little bit to what they have found in looking at some of our CRAs, and maybe some comments about where we are in this partially implemented / not implemented status. So, is there anybody here? Nope, nobody's here.
Commissioner, obviously there's not someone here from the audit side. However, this concern and issue has been raised by the commission in the past, and we have a schedule where we're meeting with the CRAs, going to the revised format, as we talked about at the last meeting. So Renee's here, she could give an update in terms of the schedule by which they're meeting with the different CRAs, looking at what they're doing, and they can use that report as a guideline. We can certainly have back the audit group to talk about specifically their audit,
but since they're not
Yeah.
here, we could at least do that.
Yeah, that's fine. And it just, I guess, some of these changes were identified and still haven't been taken care of. So that was really my concern.
May I speak
Thank
to
you.
that?
Yep, thank you.
The changes that have not either been implemented, or at least partially implemented or fully implemented, are changes that were requested or recommended by the the inspector regarding the actual, like the formats of the reports, major funds, minor funds, and we reviewed all of those suggestions with OMB and with the county attorney's office. And so if you read through our management responses, we do answer, and we think we have fully complied with what is necessary. Some of the things that were being recommended were somewhat contradictory to what's required by state law. So at this point, we can revisit this maybe in more detail at a future date as to why we came to the conclusions that we did. But the things that we think were spot on, and those are being implemented. We do have a working group meeting scheduled for, I believe, June 12th with all the CRA managers to talk about standard reporting formats. Taking to your point, the safety harbor, that's going to be the, kind of a nice example of what you guys are looking for. Educating them on how to use the SharePoint site. We do have all of the documents that we're getting uploaded, the CAFRs and everything. I think coming up on a future report, you'll see 3 more CRA reports on your consent agenda. We will be adding the actual CAFR information for each one of those to that set of reports, so you're getting the full financial reporting. We will begin scheduling tours, if you will, with the CRAs to review their projects and see things in the ground.
Great.
Trying to remember off the top of my head some of our other schedules.
But you have a schedule through this year. And
Yes.
so as they come due and as we do the review, they'll be done in chunks. The idea being by the end of the year, you'll be through all
The
of it.
most significant thing that will be coming up is we are asking, all the CRAs will have to report at the project level of, especially with county-funded projects, things that county TIF has funded, to identify where they're covered in their plan, how the funds were used. So we'll be getting project by project reporting, and that's due in October from all the municipalities, and then we'll bring all of that to the board. So you should be, as part of the new reporting procedures, you'll be getting much more detailed information. We talked about at the time pairing that up with the annual reports, but it's enough already to try to get the annual reports done. So for this first year, we're giving them until October of this year to get that project level reporting to us in a spreadsheet where you'll be able to see line by line how they're actually spending county TIF funds.
Would you like to, once all the reports are due in October, maybe before the end of the year, we could have a CRA workshop
Certainly.
and have all the CRAs come in and report, and kind of, it'd be good for them to hear what they're each doing, perhaps, and also have a ability to ask questions, and I think that would be good for all of us, and rather than having them come single fashion to do a comprehensive review. And again, I think they'll learn from each other as well.
And I think that would be helpful for us. We're kind of caught in, I hate to say caught in the middle of this kind of this oversight function. So if they're having difficulties with what we're asking for, sometimes it's a little easier, to understand in a conversation. But we're trying to work through them with these new reporting requirements and bring them along and get all the information that we need in a timely manner. So it is new for them. It really is.
Commissioner Long?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. So I appreciate the comments that have already been made, and I appreciate the position you find yourself in, Renee. My issue is a little broader than what we've been talking about, because I think, especially given the scrutiny that CRAs are coming under in the Florida legislature, it doesn't sit very well with me, unless I'm misunderstanding this whole report that's in here, that we, the county, have established so many CRAs, and several of them have not established a redevelopment trust fund. They have, they're just kind of hanging out there. And so I'd like to really get a handle on, because each one has a time certain, correct? And then they up again if they,
If they're two different things, the redevelopment trust funds, those have a time certain. Typically, you'll see the 30 years. We do have a handful of CRAs that were created that never implemented the redevelopment trust funds, the tax increment financing. There are still reasons for them to do that. There are benefits, other benefits that they can take advantage of, grant funding programs and things of that nature if they have a community redevelopment area. Some were established and have never really done anything with them. They could probably be sunsetted, and we can follow up with that. And
well, I mean, I'd like to see that come off the books because we spend a lot of time and effort creating these things, and if they're not gonna be used, what is the point of just leaving them hanging out there?
Well, I think that's probably a good idea to take a look at the ones that have not really done any activity and maybe sunset them. But we have not necessarily encouraged those who have not implemented a redevelopment trust fund because of the effect on county taxes, county
Well, but then
revenues.
maybe we should not even have them exist.
Well, some of them exist though, just as Renee has said, because they have other powers or grant abilities.
they can establish their own local.
Right, they can
TIF.
establish their own tax increment
Exactly.
financing. One
And
of
I
them,
believe one has even maybe done that.
I think it's Gulfport
49th Street.
has just,
has
they,
their
right.
own, their own TIF.
so, Commissioner Welch?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do think it's timely that we do have that workshop because a lot of this history we need to talk about. Not only did we not encourage, it was our policy that we didn't do county TIF if it wasn't in a downtown. You know, the first one we did was South St. Pete and then Lelman. So I'm glad you cleared that up. I had some of the same questions Commissioner Eggers had. When you look at that implementation status table, there are a lot of blanks there. So you're saying in the response, you address all those?
Yeah, in the appendix to the report, there's a management response
Okay.
memo, and we explain why we implemented some and why we did not implement some.
Well, like the first one says, certified financial statements for CRAs have not been issued.
Because we get the annual CAFR and all that information is
Okay.
is in the CAFR, exactly.
So I'll go back and look at your detailed explanation in the appendix. But I do think we have implemented a level of increased oversight simply because of our interest in what we're trying to do with CRAs, particularly to address poverty. And I've said several times, and I'll say it again, you know, this board implemented the South St. Pete CRA to address poverty. And the programs that they implement need to directly impact that. And there's a lot of discussion in the community about whether that's happening or not. I asked for the report from St. Pete, and that wasn't ready at the time I asked for it.
The South St. Pete CRA
Right,
report.
right.
That we have a draft of that.
Okay.
They are behind the
Okay.
timeline, definitely. They had some extenuating circumstances. We have a draft, and we should, if we haven't already received the final report, we should be getting it within a week or two.
Well, I did watch their workshop, and their staff addressed where the new round of grants is going, and 70% were in the target area. But there's some real concern in the community, and I share it, that that CRA addresses poverty, and it's not the historical type of downtown CRA. So I'm glad we're going to have that discussion going forward, because this is a big county investment.
It is.
It needs to return what we promised it will return. So
Yes, sir.
thank you for answering those questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? I see our clerk of the circuit court, Ken Burke, is here. Do you wish to come forward and share any thoughts?
I was listening into your conversation here.
Sorry about that.
And I gave Hector a call. And just so you know, on what we do is our process is after we do a audit of any entity, we make our recommendations, and the recommendations are in priority order. What we consider the most important are up front, on top, and they go down from there. And Commissioner Eggers, I appreciate your diligence in reading these reports and questioning them. It is appreciated, and I know you all take a look at these things and take them very seriously. So on our recommendations, what we ask then at a certain period afterwards, what we deem a reasonable period, we do a follow-up audit to see the implementation of our recommendations. and we ask for a response. And the response, if they're not being implemented, and at times, and as the clerk, we also audit the clerk's office, and we don't always implement all the recommendations issued to us. But the idea behind it is that you give a response as to why. Did you do a cost-benefit study? And the cost of implementing the recommendation is higher than the benefit derived. That's a management decision. Again, these are recommendations. These are not mandates. We're just looking at best practice. It's kind of like going to your doctor and the doctor saying you should exercise daily, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, eat well. We know what the standard should be, and we don't always live up to it. I didn't look at you. But on some of the recommendations, they are more serious. Obviously, the financial information and the timeliness is extremely important. With a fiscal year end of September 30th, there's really very little reason beyond March 31st not to have your financial statements in order. So those things we do take a more aggressive stand on. But on the particular matters that you brought up today, I've asked Hector to give you a written response, which will be shared with all the commissioners.
That's
okay?
great. Can I ask a question while he's here?
Yes.
I noticed in the next item, which we've already approved, and there was a couple of in the last report about some of the petty cash fund issues that we have in different, I call issues, just some management. And,
right.
Do you find that pretty consistent throughout most of those audits of our petty cash funds in different departments? And what are we doing to kind of try to normalize that?
On that, your departments are very responsive to those recommendations. It just basically gets, and let's face it, when we had the decrease in workforce, segregation of duties often were compromised. And now we're getting back to probably better levels. And some of the processes which became a little looser when we had a downsize of workforce, we're cleaning up, recommending be cleaned up. And I could say on those types of things, those are very structural. Your county departments are very responsive. They don't want a black eye with petty cash and ensuring that the funds are properly accounted for. And when there is a more serious issue, obviously, we bring those to the attention of management, upper management, and at a more ready level. But no, your departments are very responsive there.
That's great to know. Thanks, Hector, for all he's doing. And
he does a great job.
He did try to reach out to me from the last meeting.
And Hector only has about a year left before he'll be leaving us. So.
Oh, my.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Could I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hager, second by Commissioner Long for agenda item 6.
Put me down as a yes.
You got it.
Okay, unanimous approval. Moving on to agenda item 14.
Item 14 is a budget amendment number 3 to our line appropriations for 2 cost centers. A small amount, almost $6,000, is to the property appraiser. The majority of the cost, however, is going to the supervisor elections. This is an appropriation needed as a result of the machine and manual recount after the November 6, 2018 general election.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Welch, a second by Commissioner Gerard. Agenda item 14.
I'll be a yes.
Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 15.
Item 15 is revisions to our county food, beverage, recruitment, and awards related expense policy. Here we're asking for a little bit more flexibility, specifically related to when, in those outside times where we have to recruit a department head level, we'd be able to pay the associated moving cost. The other piece being when we have like exempt meeting workshops or meeting with our employee groups and things like that we can provide small coffee, water, things like that. And then the final piece, revision, we're asking for a little flexibility on, is currently it's allowed when I go to a partner-related event, I send a form over to the chair signs it, gets it back. Sometimes there's insufficient time to do that we just authorize that for the deputy county administrator and myself that we can go to those types of events and provide reimbursement. So minor tweaks to our policy, some of it's clarification that really wasn't defined, and so we're trying to define it in a little bit more fixed format.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Welch and second by Commissioner Long. Okay, unanimous approval.
You play with
Moving
that
on
one eventually.
to agenda item 16.
Item 16 is the first amendment to an agreement with Creative Contractors for design build professional services for the Courts Consolidation Project at the County Justice Center. This is a large project, and we have Andrew here to provide a brief presentation on what's entailed within this project.
I ask that we have this update since it is such a large dollar project. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Pepke, Real Estate Management Director. I am very happy to stand before you this morning with a request to approve the construction phase for this project, which is the Courts Consolidation Project at the County Justice Center. I would like to refamiliarize you with the project with a brief presentation and be happy to answer any questions you may have. So to introduce the project, to identify those stakeholders that are part of this project, including the 6th Judicial Circuit, the Clerk of the Circuit Court, the Public Defender, State Attorney, and the Sheriff's Office. Just to refamiliarize you with the scope, this project includes, I should say, the construction of a new courthouse annex, which will be adjacent to the existing CJC. It will house the Unified Family Court as well as court administration, a new front entrance for the building, which will add additional condition queuing capacity for the visiting public. We'll be expanding and renovating the jury assembly area on the first floor to have a total of 450 seats. It's the renovation of the clerk's second floor customer service area, which will provide additional customer service efficiencies as well as operational efficiencies. Renovation of H-Wing, which is an existing part of the building. That'll be for guardian ad litem as well as the court administration functions, a portion of them that will be coming from St. Petersburg. The addition of public restrooms at the west end of the building. Currently, we don't have any public restrooms at that end of the building. They are all in the core center of the building. And then lastly, security upgrades throughout the building, which include access control and security cameras. The schedule for the project, we are at the point where we have 50% construction drawings as well as a lump sum proposal from the design build firm. If your approval comes today, we will have about 3 months worth of design to complete to get to 100% construction documents, followed by approximately 3 months of permitting. Thereafter, we expect actual construction to start in January of 2020. In regards to budget, there are a couple of things I wanted to point out. We had the Phase 1 portion of the budget, and what we've expended so far is the $3.4 million. The Phase 2 is the construction, and that is at $55 million. I want to point out, however, that does include a 4% contingency amount, which is approximately $1.9 million. That puts our total budget at $58.5 million, or almost $58.6 million. The difference between that budget and the proposed budget is approximately $500,000.
Question.
Certainly.
Where is that difference showing up? Is it throughout, or is it a particular area?
I would say it's showing throughout. But again, we have the contingency, which is an amount that we don't necessarily have to spend. And one other thing I was going to touch upon in this next slide in regards to value engineering is that included in this 2.6, almost $2.7 million is $500,000 of expected tax savings from direct purchases, which is not taken off of that $58.6 million. So we would actually potentially see that reduction as well. But again, we didn't put that into the overall budget because it's not an absolute certainty at this point.
Great, thank you.
Certainly. So I did want to contrast or compare to the design criteria budget, which was at 55.6. And again, to make you aware that at that time, the design criteria package didn't identify to the granular level all the aspects of the project. And we have seen increases in technology costs, security costs, as well as some increase in construction costs. And again, we have gone through a very vigorous value engineering exercise to get us to that $2.6 million savings. And we believe that we've done everything we can to reduce the cost of the project, short of taking elements of the project out. So we believe we're at a point that is appropriate for moving forward with the project. And again, in consideration of the potential savings, both from the contingency as well as the cost savings from the tax, the direct purchases, we should be right around that proposed budget, if not below, at the end of the project. And as compared, or for comparison, I should say, with the jail project that we just completed, we were able to give back approximately $2 million out of that project from contingency. So we are very judicious in the way that we monitor. This is not contractor contingency, this is a team contingency, and we'll be very careful as we proceed through the project.
Great, thanks.
I have some of the slides that identify the aspects of the project. If you have any questions about those, I can certainly go through those. I can pause for a moment if you have questions about the project.
The proposed entry, is it currently where it is now, or will it be bumped out?
It's where it is now.
Okay.
Correct. So we're going to have a temporary entrance and exit to the building, and we've had extensive conversations with the stakeholders about that, particularly the sheriff.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the, yes, Commissioner Justice, and then Commissioner Welch.
Thank you. The proposed entry, I guess in previous discussions, I thought we were bumping it out to like an atrium type.
Yes, that is correct. Same location. I apologize
Okay.
if I misconstrued it. This is a picture of what we're talking about. So the entrance will actually be to the south. It'll be in the same location. People will not enter towards the west as they currently do. It'll be from the south, and there'll be more queuing space in a conditioned environment so people aren't necessarily standing outside, again, depending upon the number of people that show up. But
Very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Welch.
How would you describe the increase in technology costs? Was there a single driver, or was it a certain system?
Well, specifically, that cost was not identified in the design criteria package. So when I'm speaking of technology, I mean the hardware. So when we went through our discussions with BTS, we identified, in that particular case, almost $800,000 in technology related to the improvement of existing technology as well as new technology for the annex.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll ask this too. I'll ask Jewel if I can ask this. When I see value engineering, I think back to the public safety facility. Are we still in that?
Yes.
We do have ongoing litigation, yes.
Okay. So there's a value for value engineering, but there's also a wrong way to do that. So are we sure about this $2.7 million?
Yes, sir. The value engineering had to do with construction techniques, and I can ask Josh Baumstein from Creative to come up and explain further if you'd like, but we adjusted some of the construction techniques as it relates to certain things like exterior stairwells and elevator shafts that is still very much within the design expectation. It's just a different way of constructing with tilt wall versus concrete block. The other things that we did is we reduced the type of finishes in some areas. And again, all along we had those conversations with the user groups to make sure they understood what we were doing. But again, we were very careful and very deliberate in not changing any of the elements. We still have all the ballistic glass that was necessary for the sheriff's office, all of the security that goes along with the courthouse. And I don't believe that constructability-wise we have any issues that would be a negative related to that, sir.
That's reassuring. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any
Show
questions?
the additional pictures.
Certainly. So this is the front entrance.
Right.
This is a grand staircase leading up to the annex, the second floor of the annex, where there will be 4 courtrooms. This would be looking to the east on that second floor landing outside of the courtrooms in the annex. This is the expanded jury assembly area, conceptual design of that. And a conceptual design of the clerk's customer service area. So where you currently walk up to a counter, this will now be a little more engaging, similar to what other constitutionals have for waiting areas. Queuing systems so that individuals who come in will be given a number depending upon what it is that they're there for, and they'll be called to the respective areas to meet with a representative from the clerk's office.
So are we building this on top of existing space, the annex? I'm trying to
No.
imagine this in my mind.
I'm
the
sorry, let me-
stairway going up.
Let me back up. So to the large brown rectangle is where the annex is, to the south of the existing building. It'll connect on the first and second floors.
So it'll be 2 stories?
No, it'll be a 4-story.
It'll be 4?
Right.
Okay.
When I say connect, it'll connect to the existing building, and then, of course, there'll be elevators within the building that will bring individuals to the different floors. Floors 3 and 4 are primarily for the judges, for their chambers, as well as for court administration.
Oh, so the judges will be moved from where they are presently?
No, these are, well, yeah, these are judges that will be the Unified Family Court judges that will go in
Okay.
that location. And then also the Chief Judge's office will be in this area. So that's where the annex is, just to the south, and again, the other brown area is the new entrance to the building. And then this particular drawing shows where the bathrooms will be at the west end of the building.
I think that'll be a valuable addition.
Absolutely.
Knowing it's been a long walk for a lot of our folks to access the restrooms.
Sure.
Josh Bobenstein is here from Creative Contractors. Would you like him to come up? Do you have any questions for him?
It's been a
Thank
great
you.
partnership with Creative and with Williamson Dakar. We've had a very productive working engagement with them.
We're thankful for a great local construction firm. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, anyone else? Well, I'm really glad that we had a chance to see this. It's been a while since we've looked at it, and seeing that it's ready to roll is great.
Yep.
And thank you to you and your staff and everyone involved in the project.
You're certainly welcome.
Ken?
What's the completion deadline, do you know?
It'll be 30 months from January of 2020.
30 months?
30 months.
Just one thing real quick, if I could. And all of this funding for the expansion and everything else was through Penny 3. And as we finish, this is the last few months of Penny 3, right? It goes through the end of the year. And so all of what we needed for the previous projects and this projects have been covered.
Correct.
From Penny 3. So good stuff right off the top before the county and the cities got their funding.
Yeah, this was part of the $225 million that was in Penny 3.
Significant investment in this area. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I would just like to say on a courthouse, operational functioning is extremely important. And every decision touches on the state attorney, the public defender, especially the sheriff, who has the responsibility of moving people in custody through the courthouse. Juveniles have special rules that apply to them that are different than an adult prisoner. Evidence and moving evidence around the courthouse has special considerations. There's so many, what you think may be a minor adjustment in plans, everyone has to have input on because it may affect operational needs and statutory requirements. I say all that and just want to compliment Andrew and his team, the contractor, the architect. We probably had too many meetings, but that's good. And they're needed. And the communication on this project has been extremely well done. I want to compliment him and his team because I think, at times we complain when things don't go right and the communication breaks down. But on this particular project, communication has been excellent. They've set up good meetings. They make sure every stakeholder is aware of any change brought in, get their input, see how it impacts them, and the adjustments which need to take place are addressed. So I just want to give kudos to his team and Barry. I think you should say thank you to this group of people. They're doing a good job for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Welch?
I did have one question. One of the goals was that we implement green technologies when we could. Any highlights on that aspect?
Well, we are going to have a LEED certified building, and we're going to see if we can get to LEED silver.
Silver?
Yes, sir.
Good news. Thank you.
I also noticed in the audience that Ted Williamson is here from Williamson Descartes Associates, who is our architect. So thank you. Also another local firm. We're really glad of the partnership and appreciate everyone's hard work.
I can only imagine that $2.7 million of value engineering required a lot more meetings. But I always like to think of value and engineer in the same sentence. It's a good thing. So, it's a good thing, Mr. Welch.
And aren't you an engineer?
Oh, by chance.
I always like value engineering.
Sometimes, but with all those eyes on, it was. I'm sure it was well done. So, thank you.
Okay, great.
Move approval on this.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Eggers and a second by Commissioner Long. This is for agenda item 16 for the design build professional services for the courts consolidation project. Okay, unanimous approval. Go forth and construct. Okay, agenda item 17.
Agenda item 17 is the purchase and sale agreement with Ocean Terrace for the property located at 13025 Starkey Road. This is on behalf of the tax collector. This is their current site, and they're looking at a purchase agreement that would bring it in and make it a county-owned function. Maybe Andrew's available to answer any questions regarding the due diligence and review of this.
Yes, Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, just, again, one of those opportunities where I guess we've been a tenant for a while. In the backup, it seemed to indicate that we may have a problem extending our lease as an alternative. It showed some costs that we may incur. Did that imply that if we couldn't continue to lease and you really wanted us to purchase, or where were we in that?
So we have been a tenant of the building since 2004. It was a build-to-suit building for the tax collector back when it was originally constructed. That has gone through a couple of landlords since that time. The current landlord is desirous of selling the property, and he made that information known to us. Within the last year, we have been looking at the possibility of either renovating that location or looking for another location. And after giving consideration to the cost of another location, both land and building value, we refocused on this location. The tax collector has asked for renovations to the facility as it relates to their operational needs. So that was previously discussed with the current landlord, and we would be proceeding with those renovations if we were the owner of the building. But the tax collector desires to stay there. The building suits their needs as it relates to the general sense of the building. They do want these renovations to meet different operational needs. What you might see in the pro forma is that the current landlord has offered to pay a certain portion of those tenant improvements and then also to amortize the balance of them. The situation, however, we find ourselves in is that he's only been willing to give us an 18-month extension on our lease, and that was again based upon what we were looking at as possible relocation somewhere else. The concern that raises is that if we do not purchase it and he sells it to someone else, we have an 18-month lease, and we could obviously potentially renegotiate with a new landlord, but that might mean higher costs for rent because we now have a new landlord, and we'd have a decision at that point, depending upon when that occurred, as to staying there or going somewhere else. And to go somewhere else and build a new building within 18 months or less would be particularly challenging for us.
And from a kind of a net present value, they're pretty comparable, the two. I'm assuming we did that look at both the purchase versus lease?
Correct, yeah.
And they're pretty comparable?
Yes, in fact, purchase is a benefit by about $300,000.
Okay, so, yeah. Right. Significant, but not a huge number, but at least they're close, so that's a good thing.
Right.
And the market rates and that kind of thing are all within line of what we've got out, alternatives we might have out there.
Right, and some of that difference is based upon assumptions, one of them being we would have to spend an X amount of dollars on capital improvement. So if the board agrees to approve this today, we would have a due diligence period in which we would do a building assessment to really identify what needs we'd have capital improvement wise over the next couple of years. They would not all be new items. We did a similar function when we purchased the Lellman Exchange.
That was gonna be my second question, that we were at least making sure that we have the right building when we take it over.
Correct.
That's part of the price. Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sir. You're welcome.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Long and then Commissioner Justice.
Yes, and not to muddy the waters, but I remember Barry talking to me about the fact that he was doing, for us, about a countywide assessment for what our real needs are. And, I mean, I go up and down here all the time, so I'm very aware that right around the corner from this building is the Supervisor of Elections office. And
Correct.
I don't really know, do we own that building that she's in?
Yes, Commissioner, we do.
Oh, we do?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then we can turn it, that whole area into a government center for Pinellas County. It's centrally located, Commissioner Justice.
Depends where you're coming from.
Centrally located, doesn't matter.
It does to him.
Commissioner Justice.
Actually, Commissioner Long hit on the question. I wasn't sure about our ownership of the other buildings because that was part of the conversation, I think, of whether we're doing this more globally or piecemeal. And so that gives me some comfort in that we do own the other buildings, so.
Yeah, and the issue about all of our buildings is a much bigger long-term discussion. You know, I think in this particular case, it's very service-oriented. He's got a good location, so we can't put everything on hold. This makes sense. And so, you know, let them do their due diligence and look. We can have that bigger conversation as we kind of pull some more pieces together.
Do you have any idea when that might be?
So it's on the list. It just, there's a lot going on, you know, and so
Really?
it's one of
I
those.
hadn't noticed.
It's one of those priorities. I don't even have the report, or I just got the report, you know, from the city building and that discussion. So that'll feed into this. We were waiting on that, so.
In addition, I'm sorry to interrupt, in addition, this location offers the tax collector the opportunity to do road tests there because they can do the road tests within the office park. And as you're probably aware, we're moving forward with the South County Service Center to have an on-site driving course and a future one in North County. So I think staying in this particular business park is beneficial to the tax collector for their operations, particularly as it relates to road tests. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just going to kind of say a couple of things that have been said, and that is that it does work operationally, it does work locationally, and from a financial standpoint, it's kind of a break even between purchasing and leasing, and it fits part of that real estate holding portfolio thing well. I think so. I think this is a good sound thing to do, in spite of the fact that we're kind of maybe going through that more globally. I think this fits in many ways. So great, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I noticed that it does have a payback period of 10 years, and one of my concerns was the loss of ad valorem taxes if we own the building, but we already are paying the taxes when I looked at the pro forma, so I kind of a wash there. But Barry and I also talked yesterday about having a further discussion about the $9 million annual subsidy for the state driver license and motor vehicle services performed by the tax collector. I don't know whether there's any way to recover some more of those fees or if we're limited by state laws to what we can charge. But that being said, I am proud of the excellent customer service that's provided by our tax collector. I can certainly remember when I first got my driver's license many years ago and how long it took and, you know, and how inefficient the whole method was.
Oh, it was
And
awful.
they have certainly, through
Hours
Diane
you
Nelson and
stand
now
in
through
line.
Carlos Thomas, have improved that process greatly. So I don't want to go backwards on that one.
Right.
But I do think it's worth discussing. And then when this comes back, the only other request I have is we have different funding options. And if it is going to come from the penny for Pinellas, I would assume it would be the 2020, starting in 2020. But irregardless, we need to know the cause and effect on the penny plan. And as you recall, we are going to have a work session about the penny, so we'll include this in that discussion. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Boy, are you all busy.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Egger, second by Commissioner Long for agenda item 17. Okay, it passes unanimously. Moving on to County Administrator's agenda item 18.
Good morning. I have two items to report on. Recently, you approved the our age-friendly plan. Well, that was approved by AARP, and I just wanted to comment about some of the and report on some of the comments that they had. They said it was great to see a public safety and security and emergency management included as specific domains. So they said it's a great plan and so much to love, but so much to be able to pull out of and share with other communities. Having received this several times, they said, please share the congratulations. Our Human Services team, as a result, was invited to present our plan at the Florida Council on Aging. So, again, great plan. Lots of kudos from AARP on the design and the way they approached bringing in everybody to be part of that. And again, they've been out meeting with communities and sharing that. So that was very good news. The other one was just to give you an update on the Duke Energy Park and Plug program for our charging stations. Use of the charging stations, it will be free. It can be accessed using a smartphone application. Once all sites are operational, we'll push this out more, but we currently are targeting 445 Courthouse in St. Petersburg, the Public Safety Campus on Almerton, the Cooperative Extension on Almerton, the County Justice Center. They're also working for charging stations locations to be determined at Fort DeSoto and San Key Parks, and we're going to have two other locations that they're evaluating different sites currently, but that's in works, and they're working on how they can successfully implement this. That's my two updates this morning.
So I have a question, Madam Chair. Did Barbara send out a notice on the age-friendly county? Because I don't remember seeing it. Not yet, but you will, right? Excellent, thank you.
I just got the email from Lourdes with these updates, so that's good information to share.
Absolutely.
And then I think there's somebody new in the audience.
We do have someone new in the audience. You know, I introduced her last time, but she actually officially began, so thank you for pointing that out. And
Maybe she could stand up so everybody else can see her.
We
She
see her
just
again.
loved that.
Now that she's at the head table. Welcome, Jill. Welcome.
Jill Silverboard.
Officially.
Yeah, Jill Silverboard for the audience is our new Deputy County Administrator. She just began a week ago Monday, but we took her on a little trip right after she began. So this is her first official meeting.
Welcome.
Yes. County Attorney?
I have nothing today.
Okay, next back to the County Administrator for two reports.
The first report is our state legislative session recap from Southern Strategies Group. And we have Laura in the audience. What's that? All right.
The whole team here.
The whole team, all right. I couldn't see them in the back. Oh, here they are.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Well, good morning. Still morning?
Morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to just thank you all for allowing us to represent you, and I want to thank all the commissioners who came up during the legislative session to lobby with us in Tallahassee. It's always good for our delegation to see your face. So I appreciate you coming up there and waving the flag with us. And I also want to thank you for hiring Brian Lowak, because he worked lockstep with us during session. I mean, I think we were on the phone 3 or 4 times a day, every day, and he really is an asset for y'all and is just a great, great, great addition to the team. So I am going to start the recap to talk a little bit about.
Would you introduce yourself
Oh, I'm
as well as your
sorry.
partners?
My partner, Seth McKeel, Sydney Ridley, Laura Beamer. We are the Tampa Bay office of Southern Strategy Group. That's the recap of the 2019 session. So it's always interesting to see how many bills are filed every year and how many passed. So there were 3,492 bills actually filed this session, and only 197 of them passed. So that is less than 6% of all of the legislation, which is probably a good thing for us in the big picture. But it kind of gives you some perspective of how many bills are filed and how little pass. Some other perspective, there were 1,630 appropriation bills passed, totaling almost $3.7 billion. So obviously those all did not pass as well. And I'm going to spend the majority of our time talking about the state budget, especially as it relates to the county's guiding principles. This year, the state budget was $91.1 billion. It was the largest budget ever for the state of Florida. It included $34 billion in general revenue, $57.1 billion from trust funds, and they did put $3.4 billion total into reserves. And just something interesting to note, because it was a big topic this session, there was at least, and we don't know for sure the final number, but at least $650 million in there for the Panhandle for hurricane recovery. As far as the county's guiding principles, I'm going to start with affordable housing funding. There's a total of $325 million in the Sadowski Trust Fund. This year they swept $125 million of it into the General Revenue Fund. $46.6 million was in there for SHIP, which is the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program. And there was $39 million in there for SAIL, which is the State Apartment Incentive Loan Program. And there was $115 million in there for housing related to Hurricane Michael recovery, which is modeled after the SHIP and SAIL programs. Homelessness and mental health. There was $4.5 million appropriated in the Homeless Housing Trust Fund. There was $3.2 million appropriated for challenge grants, which are dispersed to local homeless coalitions throughout the state. Something interesting, this year they refunded the state opioid response grant, which allows us to drag down some federal dollars, and that was funded at $83.3 million. There was also $4.9 million in there for the Community Mental Health Block Grant, which is dispersed among local behavioral health providers. And then in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, there was $75 million, which was an increase over last year of $5.7 million in mental health assistance allocations for schools. And there was also $5.5 million in it for mental health awareness assistance training. I think the biggest impact this year and the biggest difference in our budget this year was the environmental funding. It was a priority of our governor, Ron DeSantis, and there was an unprecedented amount of money put into the budget. And I have to tell you, it hasn't been signed yet. He hasn't even received it yet. So this is all still subject to veto. But there was $682.6 million in environmental funding. And I'm just going to try to quickly go through everything that was in there. But there was $33 million in there for Florida Forever. There was $327.2 million in there for Everglades restoration, which is an increase of $196.3 million, which is very significant. We
So that
have
was lake restoration, Madam Chair?
Everglades.
Everglades, okay, thank you.
Right. Beach renourishment funding was increased this year by $20 million, so it was a $50 million total. A new $25 million fund for septic to sewer grants for local governments, wastewater improvements. There's $100 million this year for springs restoration. There was $49 million in the budget for water projects. $125.5 million in the Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund. $40 million in alternative water supply grants. There was $4.2 million in there for red tide research. Something near and dear to your heart, Commissioner Long, there was $5.5 million in there for the Florida Resilient Coastline Initiative, and this is to assist local governments with sea level rise planning and coastal resilience projects and for the protection of our coral reefs. Arts funding. So last year we dropped to 48th of 50 states in arts funding, and this year we are 20th. So we're getting there. We had $21.25 million in funding, which is about 8 times what we had last year. They funded $12.3 million in the Cultural Museum matching grants. They funded $2.98 million for the Culture Builds Florida matching grants, which was not funded at all last year, and $5.97 million for cultural facilities matching grants, which was not funded at all last year. As far as economic development funding, they funded the Job Growth Grant Fund again this year, but it came down to less than half, so it was only funded at $40 million, down from $85 million from last year. They did end up funding Visit Florida at $15 million, and they funded Enterprise Florida at $16 million. We know they funded TBARDA, which is we're all very happy about that, at $2.5 million. The entire transportation work program was funded at $9.8 billion, and there was $85.3 million in local road fund projects. Something you may have read about, which I thought was really interesting, that's in the WORK program, is they funded $40 million in there for the Tamiami Trail. And it was just announced that we received an additional $60 million from USDOT. And that will allow an additional 80 billion gallons of water a day to flow south into the Everglades once they raise it. As far as the county's legislative priorities, we were able to secure $500,000 for the Lofty Pines septic to sewer. We thank Representative DeSegli and Senator Ed Hooper for assisting us with that. We passed the Pinellas County Licensing Board local bill. Again, thanks to Representative DeSegli for sponsoring that. We initially had funding in the budget for the East Lake Library. The Senate had it as a separate line item. The House only wanted to fund the library construction grants, and so it ended up falling out of the budget at the end, and they ended up only funding the library construction grants at $1 million, which only actually funds 2 of the 23 projects on the list. East Lake Library is ranked 14. So for the audience, it's very interesting. They always have a good tax package with our sales tax holidays. You have 2 days left for the hurricane preparedness tax holiday. It runs through June 6th. Also included was the back to school holiday. That runs from August 2nd to August 6th. And I'm just going to touch on a few bills. I know Brian's already briefed you all on everything we were tracking. I think we all agree that this year was a little less harsh as far as fighting our preemption bills and protecting home rule. Surprisingly, I mean, we have new leadership and they're not as aggressive this year, but we still had some fights. I know you all have talked probably ad nauseum about the House Bill 9, which is a CRA bill. We were able to work with the sponsors to make sure that the new CRAs do not have to be created by countywide referendum, by approval of 2/3 of the vote, just a simple majority vote of the governing body. We worked with Representative Sigley again on the local option surtax bill. This bill does not require the referendum to be approved by 2/3 of the voters for passage, which was a good thing. One of the Senate President's priorities, probably his biggest priority, was the MCOR bill. I just want to briefly explain what the MCOR bill is. It's going to create 3 new regional toll corridors, one from Collier County to Polk County, one from Citrus County to Jefferson County, and a North Turnpike connector, which takes the north terminus of the Turnpike northwest to the Suncoast Parkway. It's significant in funding. The state is allocating $45 million this year, $90 million next year, and $135 million the year after that. Couple other quick things. House Bill 905 was a transportation package, and there was some language included in it that says that projects that are wholly or partially funded by DOT and administered by a local government may not allow the same firm to perform both the design services and the construction engineering services. So that would be a change in how we do things. Sanctuary Cities bill, the immigration enforcement, Senator Gruder's bill, it went through a lot of iterations, a lot of changes. The final bill essentially states that local governments must support and cooperate with federal immigration and enforcement, and prohibits local government entities from having a sanctuary policy. Texting while driving passed, so it's now a primary enforcement. Prohibits texting and driving, emailing, instant messaging while driving. Micro mobility devices, I know you all have seen the scooters that are around. Now local governments are allowed to regulate the operation of scooters. Vegetable gardens, we have now preempted local regulation of vegetable gardens on residential property. I'm going to end with this because I think it's extremely interesting. So I think you all saw in the news that the governor vetoed the straw ban legislation, House Bill 771. But I want to read to you his veto message. It says, a number of Florida municipalities have enacted ordinances prohibiting single-use plastic straws. These measures have not, as far as I can tell, frustrated any state policy or harmed the state's interest. In fact, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has encouraged Florida residents, schools, and businesses to reduce plastic straw use. Listen to this part. Under these circumstances, the state should simply allow local communities to address this issue through the political process. Citizens who oppose plastic straw ordinances can seek recourse by electing people who share their views.
Right.
All right.
That's refreshing.
So I'll leave you with that, and that he still has yet to sign the local tree ordinance, the tree trimming ordinance bill. So we'll see if his veto message aligns with the remaining bills he has to sign. And with that, we'll take questions. And
Any questions? Commissioner Eggers?
Well, first of all, thank you for your work, and it's nice to go up there and, somebody like me who doesn't know the area very well, and like some of my colleagues do, and you just kind of lead me around and get me to the right person at the right time, so thank you for that. You touched on a whole lot of things, and I think you even added to some of those initial comments, but I just wanted to ask you about the transportation, the $9.8 billion fund. That does not include any of the funding for those toll roads, right? That's a separate, distinct amount?
Yes.
And did that amount go up, stay the same, or go down from last year?
from last year, it went up, but not by much.
Okay, so kind of holding our own.
I think it was 5%.
Okay. Septic to sewer, is that down or up? And how did, the project, I think we were asking for over $1 million on that project, came in at half. Is that pretty consistent with other asks and?
In the budget silo, yeah.
Yeah.
So there were, what was it, 49 water projects that were funded, and the majority of them are around that size.
Okay.
But the new thing is this year, as long as it stays in the budget, there's $25 million allocated to DEP for grants for septic to sewer projects that we can
Okay.
also apply for.
Okay, great.
But we feel pretty confident after talking to the governor's office that the water projects will stay in the budget, will not be vetoed.
And one of the things that we're extremely interested in around here is the preservation of Tampa Bay water and making sure that that continues to be a strong entity. Any issues going on right now that you sense about the alternative water source and how that's going to be prioritized? Thinking reclaimed use, toilet to tap type of thing, and how that's going to affect perhaps Tampa Bay water. Anything on the horizon that's going on there?
I can address that briefly, Commissioner. I will get you a number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but there was an allocation for alternative water supply projects in the total environmental funding. There was an additional allocation for AWS. We'll get you that number. So those would be grant funded as well, working with the DEP.
What we had heard? There was an awful lot of presentation.
40 million.
There was a lot of presentations up in Tallahassee.
On alternative water.
Yeah, regarding, again, we're just trying to make sure that we have on the horizon kind of that, making sure that any of the threats to the Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay water are identified and making sure that we're on that. So I know that we have a separate person that's working on that, but it also affects Tampa, our county here.
And AWS is very important to them. I mean, they're going to need to ensure that the state continues to fund alternative water supply in order to for the extended viability that you're talking about. So we do monitor that, and we'll continue to report to you on how those alternative water supply projects.
Well, how they identify and determine that as it relates to our formula here at Tampa Bay Water is extremely important.
Right. So we'll need to work with the DEP.
Okay. Keep us closely informed. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Justice?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What's your all feeling, one, thank you for the report. What's your feeling as far as the veto and the governor's on some of the, what would be local priorities or turkeys or whatever you want to call them? Has he given, if you got a feel from his staff on where he's going to go?
Yeah, I think that if the funding priority aligns with his priorities, then I think that you're safe.
It's not a principle or philosophical view on turkeys or something like that.
Yeah. I would say this governor has a lot different philosophy than our previous governor. I mean, we don't really know.
I was gonna say, I would also say we just don't know yet.
Sure.
Either. I mean, we're very new into the administration. We've had fantastic working relationships with this administration. In fact, we have had just great dialogue with their team. So we anticipate they're going to be great to work with, but we don't have any track record. I mean, for example, in the final 4 or 5 years of Governor Scott, we sort of had an idea of what direction he would be headed, and you could manage to that, right? we don't have that yet.
It's just, when I left, I guess almost 9 years ago, we were at 65 billion, now we're $26 billion more than that. And Seth, that's gotta be a, for you, I don't know what the budget when you left was, but it's pretty sizable.
72.
Well, I'll give you an example. When I got to Tallahassee in 2006, the Medicaid budget was about $15.5 billion, and when I left, it was $26 billion. 8 years later. So the biggest driver of that increase is federal funds that flow into the budget, primarily the Medicaid program.
Sure.
So there's about a $1 billion, maybe a little bit north of a $1 billion surplus in GR, which is the state's general revenue, the money that they have available to spend, not counting the federal funds. So like I said, the big delta is in the federal fund spend. There's been modest increases in the state's GR, sales tax, and state money.
And to echo some of the comments earlier, I've had great conversations with Senator Hooper and Representative DeSiglia, and they just really appreciate the opportunity to work with you all and how you represented us and our interests. So I appreciate that, and certainly Mr. Loack, as we all know, is stellar in his work, and appreciate his good work. And I would just encourage us and all our departments to be thinking about areas that we could be seeking state help with. I think we have a lot of things coming up in our parks, and the state has a healthy FERDAP program that we should be going after every dime we can, and those kind of things. I saw one of our local cities was advertising that they had received a grant, subject to veto, but they had received a grant. So those are, as we look at Wall Springs, as we look at Rainieri Park, those kind of things, FERDAP certainly is an avenue we should be going. But again, thank you for your good work.
Thank you. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo my colleagues. Y'all do a great job. Thank you so much. Brian, despite being a Packers fan, is actually doing a great job up there, so thank you, Brian. One of the issues that is of concern is the uncertainty after Amendment 4, which was supposed to restore rights for folks that had served their time. And there seems to be a lot of gray area now on restitution, how you identify it. Is anybody talking about clarifying that next year as we go into the 2020 elections? Are you hearing anything about that issue?
I mean, it was a contentious issue that, divided the parties. And I would think it will come back again. It will have to.
I'm confident it comes back next year.
My concern is, what do our local supervisors do if someone comes and wants to register to vote and they say they paid their restitution? Where is the Bible on restitution? Who's paid, completed that? So we'll keep an eye on it. But that is
that was a sticking point in the dialogue throughout session. You're right.
Thank you for your work.
Good job. Thank you for the comprehensive report. We really appreciate it. Okay, next we have the Airport Master Plan.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you an update on the Airport Master Plan, which is vital to the continued growth of the airport. First of all, Tom Jewsbury, Airport Director, and with me I have Doug DiCarlo with Environmental Science Associates, who will be presenting in a little bit. But first of all, for the audience, I'd like to describe basically what is the Airport Master Plan. And it's a comprehensive capital improvement planning document that will help guide the airport's capital infrastructure development to meet the future growth of the airport over the next 20 years based on aviation forecasts that have been approved by the FAA, while also addressing aviation, landside issues, environmental, and socioeconomic issues surrounding the community. And also it is important documents that are required by both the FAA and FDOT in order for us to be eligible for grant funding. The last Airport Master Plan was completed back in 2004. Needless to say, a lot of significant changes have been achieved over those years. Passenger growth is doubled. As was stated earlier, we're experiencing over 2 million passengers a year. It's put a lot of infrastructure pressure on the terminal, on the airport itself. So we're certainly in a position now that we need to go ahead and update that master plan. Take a look at those forecasts, aviation forecasts. What does it mean for the demand of the airport? And try to go ahead and build a capital improvement program that'll support that continued growth. We brought ESA on board back in late September 2017 to perform the master plan. Since it's kicked off, a lot has taken place. As part of the public outreach program, there have been several public meetings in the community to use that opportunity to educate them about the master plan, what it is, what the process is, provide updates, and give them an opportunity to provide feedback and input into that master planning process. Also, before we kicked it off, we developed a master plan website where we would go ahead and update a lot of the documents, the presentations that would be presented to the community to, again, to try to keep them informed, sending out updates as needed during the process. So today, as I introduced Doug DiCarlo, he is the lead project manager for ESA. He'll be providing a presentation that will be discussing the master plan up to this point. And then what will take place is later this year, we'll be coming back before you to present the final master plan for your adoption and approval. And again, that will help set the course for the airport's capital improvement program for the next 5, 10, and 20 years. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Doug for the presentation, and then we'll certainly be back to answer any Q&A.
Thank you, Tom. Again, Doug DiCarlo with ESA, but also a Pinellas County resident. I'd like to mention that because as an airport planner and designer, I often say they don't bring the airports to me, but it's nice to be working on a very important project here in my hometown area. So, the master plan process Tom described is not really dissimilar from many others you've probably been involved with or exposed to. So we've just gone through a number of different elements over the last year plus, and I just wanted to kind of walk you through that. We just have a handful of slides today to talk about where the study's been and certainly entertain any questions, again, as Tom indicated. But what you see now is the front half of the study, which has been pretty much completed late last year, where we look at, we initiate the study, we look at what you have out there for the facilities, their conditions, and then as Tom alluded to, one of the key milestones or elements of the study is the aviation activity forecast. And they focus on a 5, a 10, and even a 20-year horizon. This is one of the key elements approved by both FAA and FDOT to be used later on in the process. And then that helps us get right into the facility requirements where we start comparing what we have today and the demand we see on those facilities in the future. And as was even alluded to much earlier in this county commission workshop or presentation is that you've been experiencing double-digit growth out there, and there's been construction going on, and probably we'll have quite a bit of construction continuing as we move through the 5 and 10-year horizons. The back half, if you will, of the study, we're well into the environmental and alternatives analysis. This study took an extra effort, if you will, on some of the environmental components. I'm going to touch on the noise contours that were done, but there was a lot of information brought in about sustainability, resiliency. It's no surprise to anyone that the airport is very close to Tampa Bay. In fact, it shares a border, I think, on almost half of the property. We also looked at a lot of elements related to the current floodplain mapping and just how those would affect stormwater and certainly future projects as we move forward. Our alternatives analysis has actually taken some time, more than we anticipated originally, and that's because we do have a lot of these environmental factors for the airfield itself, but more importantly, what do we do with the terminal? Again, that growth's been significant, and it's a challenge, and I'm going to touch on that at the back half of this presentation. The last parts of the study that will be actually are getting underway as we speak are the airport layout plan. This is one of the final, one of the 2 elements that the FAA and FDOT must approve. They look at the entire document, but these 2 key elements, the forecast and ALP, are critical. Basically, I think Tom alluded to it. If it's not on this ALP, then it's not eligible for funding, so that's an important step. And then the last one's really where the rubber meets the road in my mind, the capital development program. Again, a 5, 10, and 20-year horizon. Grant the longer term is more difficult to predict or know, especially in this industry. But the 5-year and certainly the 10-year are very important for us to properly program not only the requirements and priorities of the projects, but certainly the grants and the funding required to make them happen. With respect to the forecast, the master plan forecasts have a number of components. There's quite a bit of detail in there. The basic key are the passengers themselves, the activity conducted by the aircraft, and even the aircraft that live at your airport, that are based there. I'm just going to touch on the annual emplanements. These are the passengers. The FAA uses the emplanement as their metric for planning studies and grants and the way that they look at airports for different programs they have. It's basically those getting on the aircraft. But certainly the master plan addresses the total passengers, which we touched on again earlier. You heard today 2 million is about the number. But the employments are effectively half of what the airport does manage for people getting on and off airplanes.
Is there a reason they don't count the arriving passengers?
It's basically if a person gets on an aircraft here at St. Pete, they're going to get off at another airport. So it's just one way they manage
see. Then it
grant
almost-
funding, passenger facility charges, and those sort of things. But they certainly recognize the fact that you deplane here
Gotta
and have
come
bad
back.
claim. Exactly. So, and the study does address that. It's just this is the metric they use in their forecast for the system-wide. So hopefully I can point here just a few. I believe I need to do it over here. As Tom had indicated, about this point, you see the peak in the passenger employments, or that pinnacle, was when the last master plan was conducted. And shortly thereafter, activity actually dropped off quite a bit on the passengers because of changes in the airlines. But it wasn't long after, in 2006, when Allegiant inaugurated service here, late 2006. And they kind of got their foothold and started certainly growing. And then around 2013, that's when that double-digit growth really has been kicked in since. Currently, the base year for our master plan forecast was 2017. We didn't have the benefit of 2018 at the time these forecasts were done. And we projected that the growth would be about just under 5%. And while you've experienced certainly double-digit growth, there's a lot of detail in the forecast chapter itself of why we don't think that's sustainable. And so it kind of balanced it out at over the 20-year horizon, about a 5% average annual growth. Since the 2017 base year, 2018 came in, another record year. You were at about 1.2, I believe, employments, or 2.2 million annual passengers. And this year to date, I think through April, the last numbers I saw, you're right on track as what you did last year. So probably another record years in store for 2019. So we do see continued growth, but again, I don't expect it to be as long-term for the double-digit growth. Got 2 buttons here, so let me make sure I hit the right one. One of the elements, and I probably should have put this slide after the next one, but one of the elements I touched on was noise contours. We do noise contours in a master plan to try to get an understanding as to whether or not some of the projects we're proposing or the growth that's predicted will have an impact on the noise to the community. This is not a full FAA Part 150, as they call it, noise study. However, it did use the exact same models, the exact same methodology. It just doesn't go through all the formal processes with the agency on how the maps are created. But it is effectively the same analysis. And what you see here are both the existing and the solid green line, as well as the future, or the 10-year. We did this for 5, 10, and 20-year horizon again. The dashed or dotted line is the 2028 10-year noise contour for what the FAA calls the DNL, or the average day-night level, at 65 decibels. This is effectively, there's a number of other thresholds that are looked at, but the 65 DNL is effectively the primary threshold of significance the FAA looks at for compatible versus incompatible uses.
Question.
Yes, sir.
It would seem with technology and the engines getting quieter that it would be kind of, you wouldn't be seeing an expansion of that noise area first. And well, the question as to what the FAA came in, I guess a month ago at one of our meetings and talked about new patterns and that kind of thing. We can talk about that a little bit later. But could you explain why you're seeing an increase in the area in this plan?
Absolutely, and if I may, prior to, one of the things I didn't touch on the annual operations per se, the chart like I did passengers, but we are looking at growth obviously in annual operations, the activity conducted by the airplanes, takeoffs and landings. And between the 2 contours you see here, 2017 and 2028, we're looking at about 27,000 more annual operations, going from about 115,000 in the base year to about 140 or so in 2028. You raise a good point. The technology has certainly improved. The existing contour there actually still captured just a few of some of the aircraft that Allegiant no longer has in their fleet, which is the older MD-80s or DC-9s, some call them. Those have come out of the fleet, as well as UPS does no longer has the cargo flights, which weren't necessarily louder aircraft, but they were done, their operations were earlier in the day, so they get penalized in the model. The reason you're seeing that expand is it's just the activity is increasing, but I can tell you the noise contours would be much larger if Allegiant had not retrofitted, well, not retrofitted, just updated their fleet to an all Airbus. I mean, they have amazing quieter
So that noise
aircraft.
kind of is a reflection of how extended it is throughout the day.
Just increase, exactly,
Yeah,
increased
so if you have
activity
more-
throughout the day, and it's actually an average over the year, is the
So
way
you
the model
don't,
works.
you're not necessarily alarmed by that in any way?
No, sir.
No, and one of the nice things Doug hit on it earlier is it doesn't impact non-compatible land use. Basically, it doesn't hit residential area. Where those areas of that contour, or you see some expansion, are in areas where it's manufacturing, not areas where it's residential. And it's still, even though the contour does start to shift a little, it's still very tight in quite a significant distance from the Feather Sound and other surrounding communities.
You know, it'll be interesting to have that conversation about where the FAA is taking the flight patterns and everything, because it seems like since I went to that, maybe I'm hearing more planes. Maybe it's just you're more tuned
they
into
haven't
it.
implemented it. That's probably it.
Yeah, but maybe it's just a flight pattern too. I don't know, but it just seems to have increased more so. But I'm sure it's just more awareness. But
maybe the time, but certainly flight schedule has increased for this time of year. And for the others and for the audience, what Commissioner Eggers is referring to is the FAA's Metroplex initiative, where they're looking at sort of redefining some of the airspace. The impacts to our community are very limited, if not even impacted at all. They're looking at more high-level altitude flight patterns that won't have an impact, and we've been assured, and we continue to fight the battle and protect your interest in the communities in our noise abatement procedures. So that is not at jeopardy. So
yeah,
we will die on the sword for that, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Good question. The last thing I was going to say on the noise contours that you reminded me is the previously, Tom, 2008 or so, there was a noise study done as part of one of the environmental documents. And at that time, the footprint was much more significant because this airport actually accommodated. Remember, I just said 140,000 is what we're looking at in 10 years from now, aircraft operations. Back then, you were in the 200,000 to almost 230,000, depending on what year you looked at, annual operations. So there was much more significant activity out here then, and much older aircraft. And on top of that, those older noise models are interesting to look at because that east-west runway here, and we're going to touch on airport facilities here in a second, this east-west runway, which you still see some markings on, was decommissioned in 2015. So that's really made a big difference, certainly for the Feather Sound residents to the east. So I think the noise situation has really improved quite a bit at the airport from a lot of different reasons or fronts. Okay, so there's a lot of information again in this master plan, so I'm just going to kind of walk through some of the, if you will, the bigger ticket items on the facility requirements. What you see here is the recommended airfield development plan. This again is for a 20-year horizon. This is kind of like a cleaned up version of the airport layout plan I alluded to earlier, but this is more of a graphic format for the report. The actual ALP drawings become a little more technical for the FAA and DOT's review. Your airfield's in incredible shape. Almost every active piece of pavement out there, runways and taxiways, have been rehabilitated very recently. The main runway, 1836, the north-south runway, is actually next on the list, and there's a project pretty much ready to go out to bid, if it has not already, to rehabilitate, and that's going to be a significant undertaking to rehabilitate that 2 miles plus of a runway out there. So the airfield's in great shape. What you see for airfield improvements is, I did just touch on, that east-west runway that's been decommissioned a few years ago is right here, bisects the airfield. The west half of that will ultimately turn into a taxiway that is shifted further north that will help us with our terminal area planning or terminal area space. And then the eastern half, if you will, helps provide a cross-field taxiway. It's going to be converted, some of the pavement removed because it doesn't need to be as wide. So that's one of the major taxiway improvements. The other taxiway improvements you see, excuse me, are pretty much to the southeast side of the airfield, and that will be to support the eventual development of the Airco parcel. That's, I'm sure many of you are well aware, 130 acres out there that are have a significant potential for both aviation and non-aviation use. In fact, the environmental assessment for that property through the FAA is just getting wrapped up. And there's going to be a public workshop on that, I think, June 17th, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's correct. I'll give you a brief update because, we're doing an environmental assessment that's more of a focus on the development of that Airco Golf site. We kicked that off last year. We have, as you said, the final public workshop on June 17th. Basically, the impacts are going to show that there aren't any environmental impacts, nothing negative that would prevent the development of that property. Actively working with Mike Medell and his team at Economic Development and others in the planning department to try to look at what are the next steps in this development. This environmental assessment is a FAA required process. Once that's completed, now we're in a position to start looking at building up the infrastructure, whether it's utilities, roadways, to truly allow that land to be developed. We've had several meetings just as recent as yesterday with some potential economic development and marketing firms that will actually set, not just conceptual, but set a path of what needs to be done so we can go ahead and get this developed. A critical component with the aeronautical development portion of this is building taxiway connectivity that will allow the aeronautical portions to get to the airfield, get to the runways, because that taxiway infrastructure doesn't exist right now. We do have that on our CIP plan. Design starts in about 3 years. So that's sort of in line with what the planning process is to get this moving forward. So we understand the need to get this moving. It's been vacant for some time. When the economy took a downturn, it wasn't the right time to develop it, but we're gearing up to go ahead and move that direction right now.
Question.
Yes.
On this, you're showing it, that development over there is kind of airport related, or at least part of it. Is there a requirement on these lands that part of it be air related, or is this just an area that we can target any manufacturing?
Yeah, I can answer. No, that's a great question, and it is an FAA requirement that we go ahead and develop at least a portion of that to support aeronautical
What's
uses.
the portion would be, what percentage would you say?
We're looking at about 60%
60,
right now.
and actually said a different way, that was a good answer, Tom, but is that you're absolutely right. The FAA, as we go through a master plan like this, before we start even considering some portions of the airport property that have the physical capability to tie into the airfield, you have parcels that do not have that connectivity, certainly across Roosevelt Boulevard. But the FAA wants to know that you can accommodate the aviation demand that we've projected for 20 years with the facilities or the space you have. So in other words, if we could not show the hangars and the aircraft parking or terminal type facilities on the airfield, then we could not turn that over to non-aviation. So we have to show that we have the ability to accommodate the demand that's projected before we can look at other options, revenue enhancing or not.
I like the comment, obviously working closely with Mike's group so that we're making sure that the left and the right hand know what we're doing and really see what opportunity we do have there for expansion in areas non-airport related.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a partnership with planning department and economic development to make sure we're carrying along the vision of the commission as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, a question.
Yes, Commissioner Welch.
And I'm just curious, you've got in a couple of slides this larger blue aircraft, one large blue aircraft among the smaller aircraft. What does that symbolize?
Can I get to that in a second?
Sure.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, that's a very good question.
Okay.
That's on the terminal drawing at the second or last slide.
Wow, yeah.
There was a great, and I'll certainly get to that, Commissioner Welch.
Okay.
That was a great, so where I was at before we talked about AirCo is that the major taxiways of the new infrastructure, if you will, on the airfield will be to support that southeast side, the AirCo parcel. And what you can see there is we do show a demand for apron aircraft parking spaces, certainly hangars, different size facilities for the small versus the corporate, potentially some air cargo returning or even aircraft maintenance. So this AirCo parcel provides a lot of opportunity to look at small and large aircraft facilities, as well as if you kind of can see, I know it may be small, but inside the green, the future access roads, there's a lot of darker areas. That would be what we're reserving for non-aeronautical use. I did kind of sidestep or step over one of the last airfield facilities you see here is a parallel general aviation runway. This is not a new item for your airport. In fact, a number of years back, Taxiway Alpha, which is the parallel taxiway to your main runway, was utilized for simultaneous or parallel takeoffs and landings for the small aircraft. And that's something that has gone by the wayside, certainly as Allegiant ramped up their operations. But you do currently have a small general aviation runway for training operations to kind of segregate them from the big boys on the primary runway. It's on your current ALP. What we've done in this master plan is taken a harder look. There's newer guidance from the FAA on how we do taxiway geometry. Certainly there's some other existing facilities out there we needed to work around. And the environmental elements I touched on. We took a hard look at this runway, and it did shift and get adjusted some. With respect to the shoreline stabilization, there's some erosion out there to the north as it meets Old Tampa Bay. The mangroves are there. We have new mapping on that, and the floodplain elevations. That's really a big impact for your airport. The newer floodplain maps are going to make building a lot of the facilities out here more difficult as we have higher base flood elevations for those new structures, including runways and taxiways. That's about it on the airfield proper. The last thing I'll touch on is the land side is certainly a component we need to take care of and address. And this will segue into the terminal question in just a second. The airport, your airport's done quite a bit in the recent past investing in getting as many parking spaces as close into the terminal as possible. And we talked about Angela and Scott and certainly Tom's team earlier with the accolades. That's been very difficult given the Gateway project, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the front door here of the airport. So it continues to evolve, and what we've done, one of the things we have here, this green area you see here in front of the terminal, is we're reserving a spot for a parking structure. At this point, there was a separate analysis done within the master plan on what size we need, and that's a little bit of a moving target. Right now, we're placeholding a 1,000-space structure closer to the terminal itself than past structures have been envisioned. And the real question remains, when? Certainly, there's a lot going on in front of the terminal, will be for another year or so. Once that settles, the other intangible, if you will, or that's a moving target is, what are all the rideshare? What's going to be the continual effect or impact of the rideshare companies such as Uber and Lyft, and how are the rental car companies going to react, and what is going to be the highest and best use? So the question of when is certainly key on the parking structure, as well as the cost associated, because it is a significant cost.
Yeah, as it relates to landside parking, the past couple of years I've been coming to you, so we're probably moving in the direction of building a parking garage. It's a huge investment, a minimum of probably about $20 million alone. So we got to be prudent and do that. We've seen a lot of impacts, as Doug alluded to, as far as impacts rideshare has had on the airport, but also the construction activity. There have been points of time where we've actually had to encourage the community, maybe look for other alternatives for coming out to the airport to get dropped off. Because with the lack of parking because of construction, we didn't want to risk our passengers coming out, missing flights because they didn't have anywhere to park. So once this is done, we'll be able to sort of stand back, monitor it, really get a better feel for what the demand is and whether or not that necessitates the need to move towards a parking garage. But we wanted to make sure that with the construction that we're doing now, that we're going to minimize any type of throwaway, and that we were going to build something that would be able to suit and accommodate a parking garage when we're ready to go in that direction.
And the last thing I'll say related to the parking structure as well as that smaller GA runway is that both of them, they have the placeholders now on the ALP. They're in the study, but also the study addresses the fact that full benefit cost analysis and environmental assessments will be required for structures of that size and certainly that cost. So that's a component that they're not quite in the pipe yet, but they're certainly, the stage is being set for them. All right, getting on to the terminal, because we kind of talked about getting to the terminal, the parking. This was certainly something I mentioned earlier that, not delayed, I think it was properly done, but the alternatives analysis for your terminal expansion, or how we improve the terminal, took quite a bit of time. We methodically went through that. It started very early on in the process, interviewing all the different users of the terminal, certainly the airlines, the tenants within the building. You have TSA as a major stakeholder, your Customs and Border Protection, and certainly your airport staff. They have their offices there in the terminal building. And a lot of good input from all that, and of course it's early in the phase, or early in the planning, and certainly the alternatives. We tried to accommodate all those items, and we found ourselves quickly getting into different compromises as we went along. But some of the big key needs were certainly consolidated facilities. As many of you are probably aware, the terminal over time has evolved from different phases, different constructions, different building components. And so certainly consolidated ticketing area, which is something you're working on now. Consolidated security checkpoints for the TSA. While you have concessions and a new concessionaire coming in, certainly more consolidated concessions and larger concessions as the facility grows, so that you get those passengers in beyond security and have the ability for them to relax and actually take advantage of the concessions. But also, we talked about the numbers continuing to grow for the passengers, additional hold room or gate spaces. And one of the things that was key among certainly your airport staff, but other users of the facility, is making sure we continually work on improving the level of customer service. So one key feature of that certainly is the thought of adding jetways to these gates so that people aren't walking or having to walk out in the elements. And it's important to note, those that may not be as familiar with building systems for airports, your terminal is a single level facility for the most part, at least the passenger component of it. And in order to do jetways, you need those up on a second level to access the aircraft properly. So that was certainly brought into the mix as to how we can start bringing those into the phasing of the program. So this is a very difficult process. You can almost, I don't know if I have a good analogy, it's almost like trying to restore a car perhaps going down the highway at 70 miles per hour. I mean, this building is active. There's constantly passengers coming and going every day, certainly peaking periods that make it even more difficult. But what we've come up with, and it's just currently under review with airport staff, or the final review before we get it out to others and certainly the FAA and DOT, is certainly a phased approach because the costs for these facilities are quite amazing. But what you see on the screen now is we're looking at a pier concourse going out into the existing place where the aircraft park, the apron area. And the first phases would be to try to build in front of your existing bag claim, where it would actually be somewhat in front of the building on the air side, if you will, and a two-story structure so we can start putting jetways in for these additional gate areas. Then you would build a little more towards the airfield and kind of expand as you go in different phases. It's very difficult because costs are certainly a major consideration. To this day, the airport has always been a pay-as-you-go facility where there's not been debt incurred on these bigger ticket items, but the day may come where that may change because it's not easy to build significant facility improvements for the passenger growth you've seen at a cost that's reasonable. You can't piecemeal it enough or break it into small enough chunks that it makes sense. It actually drives up the cost. So it's been very difficult in trying to optimize what phasing plan we can do, how we can implement this phasing plan, not only at a cost effectiveness, but without impacting the existing facilities, as well as the existing users, again, the passengers that are coming and going every day. So this is the program we're looking at for the immediate short term. And then to finally get to Commissioner Welch's question, this is the ultimate build out. This is most likely well beyond the 20-year planning horizon. But we want to make sure that we reserve this side of the airfield. There have been in the past looks at bringing cargo back on this side of the airfield or even general aviation uses. But we want to make sure this stays predominantly commercial service. Of course, the Coast Guard's right across the ramp as well as the sheriff. But what you had asked about, Commissioner Welch, is that the Allegiant pretty much has a narrow body fleet, Airbus A320s and 319s. That's what you see represented by the green aircraft. The blue one that he had indicated earlier is the larger wide body aircraft, and I think this actually is a 787 represented there. In the facility, in the forecast, there is a pretty detailed discussion on the significant opportunities that exist out there, not only to expand the existing charter international flights you have now with Canada, Allegiant's certainly looking at Mexico and the Caribbean, but certainly the ability to maybe have international flights to Europe, Brazil, parts of South America. So when you have those options, certainly they don't fly the smaller narrow-body jets, they're flying the wide-body. So that blue aircraft represents, and you're not going to have 20 of these here at one time. So that blue aircraft represents a parking position where that aircraft could get to the gates, or to the building, and tie in ultimately to where your customs and immigration and those processing functions are at.
You said that's a 787?
I'm pretty certain that's what that represents, that blue aircraft outline.
Does that change your noise contour? Is that already factored in?
It's been factored in, and probably not because there's not going to be that significant number of them on a daily basis. I have to get the number off the top of my hand. And most importantly, or I think equally as important to mention, is that your airfield is capable of accommodating almost any aircraft in the fleet.
Yeah, I think
it's a large runway, and we have that capability, so we've made sure we preserve that too.
Awesome. Thank you.
that was, as I recall, part of the 2004 master plan.
Yeah.
Was we extended the main runway. Remember that, Commissioner Welch?
I do.
Because we thought we might be getting charter air service way back then.
Yeah. But we put the airport in the position that we can accommodate that type of aircraft and not limit our ability to grow.
So we do not, based on this plane size, we don't need to worry about the length of the runway.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd neglect to say there will be, other than the rehab project I touched on, your primary runway as it is. You have great instrument approach capability. It has the right length and width, so it's a solid facility. There's no plans to extend it at all.
Just quickly, if maybe you could touch on, just for folks that might be watching, we just talked about the big investment that we've made at the courthouse and the jail and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Multi-millions of dollars. Could you talk a little bit, just briefly, about the funding that goes into here and where it comes from predominantly?
Sure. For example, some of the projects we have are going on right now at the terminal. Terminal renovation, expanding the seating capacity, the checkpoints, an automated inline baggage system, U.S. Customs facility. What we do is we utilize FAA grant dollars in addition to FDOT money to help fund that project. We also use what's referred to as a passenger facility charge, or a PFC. That's a user fee that we collect from the airlines for every passenger that gets on board. So we utilize that money to be able to pay for those projects. And of course, none of the project comes from the general fund or any tax dollars. It comes from grant funding and operating revenue generated at the airport.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, there's so much going on here. It's an enterprise fund. It kind of takes care of itself. I mean, it's the story that you're telling here is so similar to the growth of our, the courthouse and the jail and all of that. It's on constrained property. Operations are going on, round the clock. So it's not like you can stop everything and then do the improvements. And I thought that was a good point that you made earlier. It's the one about going 70 miles an hour down the road and making changes to the car. It's just so busy that I'm just so impressed with what you guys have done and the ability to keep that place operating while all of this is going on. So thank you, but great report.
Any other questions?
Yes, Commissioner.
One other question. Let's say Commissioner Eggers is tremendously successful in his leadership of Ford Pinellas. And we've got an opportunity for transit to connect, BRT, for example. How does transit for the next 30 years connect to PI?
That is something that we continue to talk about as far as how is there an opportunity to accommodate that, sort of mass transit in that area. Some years back, we looked at the opportunity of utilizing vacant land that's near our economy lot on the south side of Roosevelt. That's since been expanded. We are going to be in a better position in the years to come with our parking that we can look at possibly redeveloping some of that land that's used for parking to accommodate
Could you
some of those
point
transportation.
to where you're?
Certainly. Yeah. So we're talking over here, in this area right here. We're using some of these lots right now for employee parking as a result of the construction. Once the construction's done, that employee parking will come back. So we'll be able to reevaluate some of that land to repurpose in the future.
Kind of a multimodal?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Great. Is that in the plan?
That is actually, those discussions have been had with Forward Pinellas.
Okay.
In the Gateway Master Plan they're developing.
Okay.
That communication's taken place. And we have shared, we've had ESA meet with them and sort of their consultants, so we make sure that there's a synergy there.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Commissioner Long.
I just wanted to share with Commissioner Welch to stay tuned for the RTS, the Rapid Transit Service, soon to come.
At the new BRT? Okay. You're telling me to use a different acronym is what you're doing.
RTS.
Yes. Okay. That'll have to grow.
Rapid Transit Service.
Okay.
That's just to whet our appetite, I guess.
Okay.
You'll see. Think
Ma'am.
big.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the comprehensive report and update, and we appreciate everything that's going on at the airport and in every aspect.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that's the end of your reports.
the end of my report.
We move on to citizens to be heard. First, we have Ronald Steffens.
Morning, Ron.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to stand in front of you today, give a little speech about what's going on with the Tides Golf Course Recreation Open Space. First of all, my name is Ronald Stevens, and I represent Save the Tides Recreational Group Incorporated. As you can see, it's a very, very beautiful piece of property. And so I don't make any mistakes in talking to you. I have it all written down, so please excuse me if I have a tendency just to read it rather than looking up too much. Dear Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the Pinellas County Commission, and Mr. Barry Burton. By now, you probably know there is going to be an attempt by the owner of the Tides Golf Course to develop it. Being in your presence today, I wanted to take the opportunity to share with you a generational story of a living history of the Tides Golf Course in Seminole, Florida. I was born in Chicago, the son of steelworkers. My father was from a struggling steel family trying to survive during the Depression. They had very little of anything. My father and his older brother in their early teens caddied in the Chicago golf course to make money for their family, where they also learned to play the game of golf. My dad actually caddied a number of times for an infamous Machine Gun McGurn, who was the gangster Al Capone's right-hand man that actually carried out the bloody St. Valentine's Day massacre. When my father could, he would take me golfing at an early age, teach me the fine game of golf. Years later, he would teach my children as well. Back in 1981, my wife, 4 grammar school children, and myself moved from Chicago to Seminole, Florida. We fell in love and purchased a piece of property in Seminole located on the Tides Golf Course, looking directly at the ladies' tee on the 18th hole. That place would become our home and is even our home till today. You could not have had a more beautiful site for a backyard. Over the years, my dad and I taught my sons the game of golf on the Tides, and eventually my sons would actually work for the Tides Golf Course, caring for the greens and fairways under the direction of Lou Devos, who was the Tides general manager at the time. Lou's father was the first general manager of the Tides Golf Course when it opened in 1973. My boys grew up, got married, and had children, and now many of their sons and daughters have actually played on the Tides Golf Course as well. This is a view of my grandsons when they were very, very young. Today, they're grown, they've played the Tides Golf Course. I'm showing you this so you can see how important the Tides Golf Course has been to our community, especially my family. 4 generations of the Stevens family have played golf on the Tides Golf Course. That is the history we are fighting for today. History that the developer wants to destroy so he can develop the Tides Golf Course and make a small fortune. And in fact, he's an outsider of a community. Dear Commissioners and Mr. Burton, we cannot afford to lose this most precious piece of land called the Tides Golf Course. When a development plan comes before you, and it will, and all of my family and our entire community are asking to please vote no to any designation change of the Tides Golf Course. Vote no to any zoning change of the Tides Golf Course, and vote no, please, to any development of the Tides Golf Course. If anything, let's have it at a golf course or have it as a park or keep it as recreational open space.
Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your heartfelt presentation.
Well, I appreciate the time to be before you.
Thank you. David Ballard Geddes, Jr.
Good day, Commissioner. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Again, Pinellas County Home Rule Charter, Section 202E states, the county shall establish protections of human rights from discrimination based upon religion. In opposition to Home Rule Charter, the Reclaim Water Variance application clearly states again that the applicant literally owes their health, their safety, and religion. In a discriminatory fashion, the county, in pursuit of collecting reclaimed water availability fees, has twice denied me, after paying for my essential water charge, has denied me my human rights to access my essential water supply, twice denying me my human rights for not paying for the availability fee to access reclaimed water as a privilege, even further threatening to foreclose on my home for my refusal to pay such a prideful fee. Over the past 10 years, on a number of attempts, I have petitioned your court to be heard, and my human rights and my religion has simply been denied or dismissed. Does your legal system not hear and not protect the human rights of Christian concerns based upon water? In his farewell address, when George Washington states to indirectly undermine to indirectly undermine that which cannot be directly overthrown. Is George Washington talking about undermining and overthrowing the religion of Christianity? Is Hamilton calling the Christian inhabitants of this land dogs in Federalist Paper number 11? Is the enemy held on the forefront in Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, the religion of Christianity? Is this Constitution charging Christians as the enemy? I question, is the felony charge in Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution being placed upon the religion of Christianity, collected constitutionally as bounty in Section 4 of the 14th Amendment, collected by mercenaries working without a warrant as declared? Are the 12 tribes of Israel working as mercenaries, declared, known as savages? Are they constituted as tax-free in the 14th Amendment as equated? Is the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment and the taking of liberty, property, and life applied to that of the Gentile population and not that of the Jews? When adding the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment with the Reclaim Water variants, the religion of Christianity is being exterminated, simply eliminated. Is this Constitution denying me, a Christian, denying Christianity the right to exist, as have been the indigenous Indians in this land? Thank you.
Okay, Greg Pound.
Greg Pound, Pinellas County, Largo. Psalms 94, verse 20 says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?" The creator of heaven and earth has created laws that are eternal. And when you create laws that contradict the creator's law of what is right and wrong, when you take what's morally wrong and make it lawfully right, you're bringing yourself under judgment. Now this here is the art, this right here is the art and culture. This is the magazine that Pinellas County is putting out for 2018. It's got for the Gay Pride Parade, it's got a girl about 8 years old and another one about 12 holding these gay flags that says love is love. Every time I go down to that Gay Pride Parade and I say sex, 4 words is all I say is sex is not love. I have to have at least 9 police officers there protecting me from the people that are attacking me, throwing things at me and trying to beat me up for simply saying that sex is not love, while your DCF is pushing your perversion. Now, when Planned Parenthood in Pinellas County, and I've got their paperwork, says that you're supposed to teach your children how to masturbate at 5 and 6 years old, and now if you men are caught masturbating in a prison in the state of Florida, you're going to get charged with a felony and could get 10 more years added to your sentence, because a woman running our prison system, this is what they passed in Tallahassee at this last Senate meeting. I mean, this is what's being passed. So what we have now is we have an anti-family, anti-God system. That's why I ran for sheriff, was because of this verse right here. Shall you frame iniquity by your laws? What you've done, I ran against 3 guys from the sheriff's department. They all were lawyers. Swift, Rice, and Robert Guattieri. You go to 2019, you go 2/2/19, and watch Robert Guattieri up at the Senate Judiciary Committee say before the Senate, "I'm a lawyer and I'm the sheriff of Pinellas County." And when he goes to law school and he knows that's illegal. Madison put in our Constitution a separation of power clause to protect us from tyranny, from a monopoly of people getting a monopoly over we the people. Our system is internally being destroyed by our leaders. It's being done for money, and the way you're doing it is by destroying the families. Your court system has raped the American family. You broke down the men. You beat them down. You're just like the same thing in Europe. That's why Europe's being taken over. The exact same thing here is to turn the men into the women into men. That's the goal of the socialists. Their goal is to turn you men into the women and the women into men, and that's why the women are taking over. That's why you see what's going on. If you just look, you don't have to be blinded to see what's going on, and it's all against the Holy Bible, the Word of God. And you men better stand up and change this, because it's out of control, and it's not going to stop until you start becoming men.
That's the end of our public comment, and moving on to County Commission new business items. I see that there's no items unless anybody has anything to bring before us.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
At some point, can we, we've done this over the year. It requires typically a shade meeting, but it'd probably be appropriate at this time for us to talk about having a shade meeting dealing with security again.
Amen.
Yeah. No, actually, Mr. Burton and I talked about that yesterday. So thank you for bringing that up, and we will be doing that.
Thank you.
Moving on to County Commission Board reports and miscellaneous items, we'll start with Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, I have a few things to share with you as soon as I find my report here. I have it right here. Oh, it's right here. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so first on my report is the Tampa Bay Regional Transit Authority. Of course, you've heard, I'm sure, and we've talked about it before, that we did receive our $2.5 million from the legislature. It's non-recurring, so we will continue to be moving forward. But we have some incredible plans on the drawing board, so stay tuned. We are actually going to start working on projects, and as soon as our PD&E study is finished on the 41-mile transit feasibility study. Our next board meeting is Friday, June 21st. And now I want to talk to you about the Pinellas County Transit Authority. I'm sure you can appreciate that at the last meeting last week, the boardroom was filled with folks from HART, from PSTA, from the transit agency in Pasco County, and even from the transit agency in Manatee, all drivers who were coming to talk to us about security on our bus system as the result of the horrible tragedy a couple weeks ago where Mr. Dunn was murdered by a passenger on the bus. So at our executive committee meeting yesterday, we heard a very thorough report from Brad with regard to some of the best practices that are being implemented across the country. This is a national issue now, as you can imagine, as well as at the federal level. And so obviously, you know, we're very constrained with our budget, and our little magician, Debbie Leos, has been working fast and furiously to revise our capital bus plan so that we can free up some much-needed dollars to work on implementing a more secure environment for our drivers. We are making great progress with our RTS Rapid Transit Service from downtown St. Pete out to St. Pete Beach, and I want to thank our county staff, in specific Raheem, who has been working with Abhishek over at PSTA to try and find a solution for the turnaround of the buses on St. Pete Beach so that we don't have to keep on. I mean, it's been going on for years trying to work with the city to find a solution amenable to them. So now we're going to work with Pinellas County, see if we can't find a solution. I feel quite confident that we will. Seems to be working in a very good, positive movement forward. And as we're closing in on the draft budget for our upcoming board meetings at PSTA, we are trying to demonstrate efficiency, but also keep our service intact as we move forward to try to have better transportation options for our citizens. And we are all very much looking forward to the funding workshop on July 18th, where we are hopeful that our new county administrator and staff will come forward with some fabulous recommendations, which we can have a very thoughtful, productive, movement forward on that issue. So I will let our illustrious chair of Forward Pinellas give the report for that. And I want to remind you all, I think you all know, and several of us are planning on attending the FAT conference in Orlando, which starts on June 11th through the 14th. And the NACO annual conference is from July 12th to the 15th. You know, because I've mentioned it before, that we had a very esteemed member of the Dutch government here in Pinellas County about 2 weeks ago who did a really knockout presentation for all of those in attendance on the history and the failures and the successes of the Netherlands in dealing with the rise and fall of the sea, and really pointed out some mistakes that they made in terms of their governmental decisions trying to resolve this issue, and was hopeful that we here in Pinellas County would not make the same ones. He did reiterate the information that the United Nations and the Trump administration both in their reports have designated Tampa Bay as the most vulnerable place in the world for climate change and sea level rise. So we have really got to be good stewards of our environment and make sure that we make the right policy decisions moving forward. And it was kind of exciting that they all invited those of us that have been working on this issue to the Netherlands at some point this summer to better learn what their solutions have been and how we might be able to do the same thing here. I was hopeful, but I see that Brian has left, Brian Lowek, but I was hopeful that between him and Mary, and maybe Barry, although I know Barry has been away, could give us an update on the Pinellas County legislative idea that we threw around and talked about at our previous meeting, so that we can make sure we're all rowing in the same direction, given that that's a pretty heavy lift to move forward, and I want to be able to make sure that we're dotting I's and crossing T's and not lose the opportunity. I know that several of you are going to be very excited to know that we had an incredible meeting. Oh yeah, there, Lourdes, you're in a different spot. I could hardly find you with all these folks here. Thank you. So we had a great meeting, Lourdes' staff person and I, with our public defender, Bob Dillinger, with Adam Rudd at Largo Medical Center, and throughout the conversation, there was so much great information shared. And imagine how tickled we were when he agreed to carry forth our message to corporate, HCA corporate, and work with us to develop a pilot program to use some of their hospitals for beds for management and receiving of patients for in our county. And so this is how we left it. Maybe you know this already, Commissioner Peters, but if you don't, I know you'll be thrilled. Bob is going to work on a proposal, Bob Dillinger, to submit to Mr. Rudd so that we can meet again and maybe have a deeper dive discussion into what that might look like. I know Lourdes and her staff are very up to speed on the meeting as well. And I look forward to making a real difference with those hospitals. And they have between 5 and 7 of them in our county and could really make a dent. So that was very, very good news. Now, I have a couple of questions. It's a process thing for the chair, if you don't mind, because I know that we've all been receiving numbers of complaints about canine estates. And while I clearly recognize that we made some changes last fall, I think it was, in our code, it seems to me that when you have that many of the same kind of complaints and questions, that we ought to be able to have a deeper discussion about the issue here at the board level, since it affects our citizens. And in the past, the chair's office has always responded to these things with the very short, yes, we received your message, and some direction for our citizens to be able to have a comfort that we were paying attention. But on this issue, I haven't seen anything like that. And I'm kind of wondering, did we change a process, or are you operating at a different place? Maybe you could share with us so we're not all duplicating efforts.
And I'm have checked in with Cindy on a regular basis, so every one of the K9 Estates emails have been responded to by Cindy, and then any form site emails are being replied to by Dustin.
By Dustin? Mm-hmm. Do you think it might be possible for us to get a copy of what's being
You
sent
can
to them?
certainly copy you.
So
I was
that-
trying to avoid having you receive 100 email copies, so.
No, just one copy of what the response
Okay.
is, so that we know and we're not just left out there hanging about
Okay.
whether we need to be giving our own staff different direction. I think that would be very good.
And, wow, we've been, like I said, and I have been checking in with Cindy on a regular basis to make sure that they were all being covered, and actually talked to her about it yesterday again. Because I thought, I've seen them as well, and I thought, wow, we probably received maybe 30 or 40, and she said, no, it's been 100, over 100.
Easily.
I think it's way over 100, frankly.
But, I want to also add a cautionary note, and Jewel may have to jump in here. The Board of Adjustment is a independent board appointed by us, but it is not one in which any one of us should be talking to any of the Board of Adjustment members, because they are appointed to make an independent decision, and they are an independent body. So I just wanted to make sure that you all understood that that is the way this board works.
And I can get more details on exactly what is pending before them.
Well,
but I
before-
would guess it's a quasi judicial matter.
Okay, but before you do, how, are they just operating in the dark? Do they have no idea
no.
that this is going on with our citizens?
Jake or Barry, you want to address that? They are not operating in the dark.
I can speak to this. Obviously, there was a change made last fall that took these types of decisions and put that with the Board of Adjustment.
Right.
Okay, and so
That was the
it
change.
wasn't pertaining to this particular situation. However, this was one where that was a change in the law. So since they filed after January 1st, then it followed under the Board of Adjustment. I know there's been a question about whether or not we should relook at the process. We can certainly do that, but that would not change the outcome and the process we use for this particular case.
So my question, with that said, how do our citizens know that?
Well, they do, and hence the reason for the emails. And so our department has been communicating to both the citizens and trying to work with K9 Estates also. So this project has a history. They thought they had resolution for it, and in fact, after the time period in which we gave them to do what they said they were going to do, they filed for the
Conditional use.
the conditional use, or the exception. Special exception. I knew I'd get the term wrong, but they filed at the end of that time period. That's the reason this case has drawn on for some long time, because we thought they were going to find a location where the zoning would be appropriate. And so they filed for that. That is going to be heard before the Board of Adjustment, and they do have the facts in that case, and staff has a report for them on that.
And the meeting is tomorrow.
Correct.
Is that televised?
It will be. Not normally, I don't think, but it is tomorrow.
And citizens do receive the
No.
same notice and opportunity to be heard before the Board of Adjustment and Appeals as they
Not?
would for matters here.
I'm getting a nod that it is.
Oh, it was
not.
streamed.
I thought it was being streamed. Oh,
Oh, just here.
okay.
Oh, it's streamed for overflow.
So how do we pay attention? We don't?
Well, I guess that's a question. We
Unless you come here.
We can certainly provide a summary at the outcome of the case.
Oh, I'd like a summary.
Yeah, certainly can do that. send it to all the commission.
And then my last thing, Madam Chair, if I might, you run into the most interesting people when you're out shopping on the weekend. And this past weekend, I ran into the new mayor of Bel Air Beach, who I had never met this gentleman before, but I knew his wife, who quickly introduced me to him. And it was a 30-minute conversation probably about the lift station on Bel Air Beach and 7th Street. So there seems to be, Megan, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but a disconnect between the city manager, our county staff, and the mayor. And I'm happy to give you the example that he gave me, but maybe if you have an update, you could tell us if there's an issue with that particular lift station. He seems to think there's a big issue and that the county has fallen down on its responsibilities.
So, Megan Ross, Utilities Director, Pinellas County. So, I don't know in particular that, I think you mentioned a communication issue, but with that particular lift station, there's been some hydraulic issues. And actually, coincidentally, the item you approved today, which is for pump station 190, should alleviate some of those hydraulic issues. The force main coming from pump station 95, without getting too technical, basically currently feeds into the force main coming out of pump station 190. And so hydraulically, those two pressures have been causing some issues and causing hydraulic backups to occur during high flow events. So this lift station 190 project will reroute that force main into the wet well of 190, alleviating those pressure issues. So I think that's what you're alluding to.
That sounds very familiar to his story. My request would be, is it possible that someone on your staff could reach out to the city manager there and share with him that information?
Absolutely.
I think that would be very helpful, and please ask him to share it with the mayor, because the mayor was really very, he was upset, and given the experience that he had personally, I think he had a reason to be not happy. So I'd really appreciate it if you could do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that is the end of my report, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Eggers.
Thank you. And I just wanted to follow up a little bit on that conversation about the notifications on the Canine Estates. I know our office has responded to over 300 emails, and specifically, Kim has let them know exactly when the hearing will be and who will be hearing it and who won't be hearing it, because there seemed to be some confusion with our residents as to what body, us or some other body, that will be hearing this case. So I know that she has been inundated, I know, with that work to get back those messages. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that word did get out to every single person that emailed all of us here. So, and there were some changes in late last year that we all, we deliberated on and passed. And whenever you do that in bulk like we did, there's a few that may slip through that we may want to relook at whether or not that change is a good one or not. So, it'd be nice to see maybe a summary on major issues that were changed in that again, just to kind of refresh our memory, so that if there is one or two of those items that we want to reconsider how it's being addressed going forward, we as a body could look at that. But I'd just like to again get a summary of that kind of work. Having said that, let me just get into real quickly to some of the boards and then a couple of comments. The Forward Pinellas is our next meeting is next week, next Wednesday. We're going to talk among many, many things about the 2024 Transportation Improvement Plan, improvement program that we approve every year at this time, and also we're going to be doing a WITS review. But by and large, I'll have at the next meeting a report on kind of what we went through. PSTA, you spoke a lot about the PSTA, but the one thing I just wanted to highlight, our purchasing manager's name is Al Burns, had his son come. Representative Latvala presented a kind of a token of appreciation, a congratulations, or whatever you want to.
It wasn't a token.
Well,
It was a flag.
he gave a flag. Excuse me, I didn't phrase that properly. I
Well,
didn't mean
no,
it
the
token as in
Capitol.
it was minor. I was just simply saying that.
Just wanted to point out.
Yeah, that it was really a nice event, a nice kind of presentation to recognize new second lieutenant that just graduated from the Naval Academy. You could tell his father was beaming. I mean, most everybody in the audience and the board was just really exhilarated to have him there, and you could tell he'd gone through a lot of work to get to where he was, and was really looking forward. What a nice young man, and looking forward to serving his country.
Tell him where
so-
his duty station's gonna be.
In Japan, I think he said.
Okinawa.
Yeah, so that'll be his first station. But anyway, really neat presentation. Thank you for allowing that to happen last week. Let's see. Just the only thing I'll say about my VA community, there's a whole lot going on down at the VA with respect to veterans and issues. We talked an awful lot yesterday at our board meeting on mental health and suicide prevention, and the role that they play not only in the veteran community, but how they're starting to engage with the partners here in Pinellas County, providing some leadership and also learning from what we do. And I just want to keep saying the number 1-800-273-8255, 273-8255, which is a suicide prevention hotline. Really, it's kind of a national thing, whether you're here locally, anywhere in the country, you can call that if you have any issues or you know of somebody that's struggling. A lot of conversation being had about that at the CVEB, which is our engagement board. Tampa Bay Water, our next meeting is 2 weeks from yesterday. A lot going on. You know, we've had the issues with the city of Tampa. We've talked about that a little bit. I also mentioned that at a meeting before that Hillsborough County took off the table some conversations about approving an MOU with Tampa Bay Water on the use of water expansion for their growing area in South County. And there's a lot of implications to that, some that are very observable to the eye and others that we're not sure about. Apparently there's a workshop on the 20th of June in Hillsborough County to talk about the future of their reclaim system and how they're going to use that, and perhaps even some discussion as it relates to the regional cooperation with Tampa Bay Water. So our staff is going to be going to that meeting and making sure that they understand what's going on, making sure that our group is not impeded by these many questions that are coming up from Hillsborough County, and delivering the water that they need for expansion on a timely basis. So a lot going on that front, which is why I was asking some of the questions earlier. The only other thing is that our executive manager is having his review, WIT's having his review, so we're having a lot of reviews of executive directors. I know that there's been a lot of issues and questions this past year or two, and so that review is going to be an important one to give him appropriate and direct feedback. Next meeting of the TMA is this Friday. There's an awful lot that we'll be talking about there. FDOT funding capabilities and restrictions, and the T-BARTA Transit Development Plan will be presented. So a lot going on this Friday for the TMA. Pinellas School Collaborative Transportation Committee is meeting tomorrow, and we will be discussing the recommendations from the Marjorie Douglas Public Safety Commission that came, our own sheriff was the chair of, bringing those recommendations forward. We'll be getting a kind of a snapshot about some of those recommendations. I know they've presented to the school board already, and I know we're supposed to be getting some kind of presentation, hopefully in short order, but also be talking more and more about motorists that are passing stop school buses, which I almost thought was like the thing you should never do, but they seem to be having a lot of problems with that. So more discussion to come on that. And then just a few observations. I went to my first Healthy Kids Board meeting and strategic planning meeting. Really, really good. Of course, just so much to take in. But what is very clear is there's an expansion of Medicaid use for healthcare for kids in our state. at the low end, and even at the end, it's about 200%, considered 200% of poverty. There's some opportunities there. So looking forward to being an active participant. I got put on the financial subcommittee there, so I'm looking forward to the continued work with that group. Wanted to commend Oldsmar. I went to the Oldsmar Memorial Day celebration. It was really, really good. I know there were several of them around the county, but really want to take my hat off to the city of Oldsmar for the work that they did. I was able to join Commissioner Justice at BurgerFi last week, and we were there they were there to raise money for the West Coast Honor Flight Program. That place was packed, and even the short period of time we were there, I mean, it turned over a couple of times. So I don't know how much money they raised, but it was all for that honor flight program, and they did a great job. And now I know where BurgerFi is, or what BurgerFi actually is. So they did a really nice job. So I just wanted to commend them for that and thank BurgerFi for allowing. I think they have 5 or 6 locations around the area. And anyway. Also had a chance to go to take the new and improved CPR class that our firefighters in Palm Harbor did last week, and the old way that I learned it probably 20 years ago isn't the same that they do today. So imagine that changes, but it was really good, and those classes come up from time to time, and you never know when that's going to happen, where you have to be called upon to help somebody survive. So anyway, good stuff. Also went to a Lakeshore Estates meeting, which I thought was just going to be with 2 individuals to talk about canals and all of that, a policy that this board changed in 2012. We had about 25 members of the community show up. So it turned out, instead of being a 3-person meeting, into a 28-person meeting. I just heard a lot from them about that, so I'm looking forward to the upcoming workshop that will kind of be discussing those items. Also went to the Meese Countryside groundbreaking ceremony this Monday. It was amazing what's going on at Meese Hospital. Just when you think there's no land to build,
Surprise.
It's a huge area, a huge building that's going to be built right out front of what was the normal entryway to the hospital. But family gave $5 million. The same couple that gave $3 million to Ruth Eckerd. Amazing. What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Say the name, please. I didn't know. I can't remember the name of the couple. But anyway, just amazing people, and I feel bad that I don't have the name written down here. But it was a really neat presentation, and following with a great breakfast, and lots of board members there, and also other donors, and exciting component to our Baycare system. Let's see, just real quickly, the transportation meeting we had in Palm Harbor, well attended, probably 50 to 60 people a couple weeks ago. CNCN was kind of the umbrella to that meeting, and we had somebody from Forward Pinellas there, somebody from the county, somebody from PSTA talking about local transportation, regional transportation issues. Went on for about an hour, and literally most everybody stayed for the second hour asking questions and different issues with regard to transportation or transit. So I was encouraged to see the level of interest, whether it's regarding roads or bridges or even our transit system and the shortcomings that we have here in the county.
What did they say?
Well, I think a lot of them were very encouraging that we continue to explore more transit for Pinellas County. And a lot of them were addressing the issues with regards to our seniors and their ability to get around, but and acknowledging that the new generation is a little different than our generation in terms of use of transit. So, but anyway, I was more encouraged that there was a good turnout and there was real interest, as I keep sensing more and more of that every time I get out there and talk about transportation. It's not the glazed look like it was maybe 10 years ago even, that there's really people that are interested and excited about it. So I think the timing, as you said before, is at hand to have that conversation. And I guess the last thing I would just say is today's the 4th, so 2 days from now is what we call D-Day from, I think it was way back 60, 70 years ago. So it's an important day from probably the most amazing, dramatic, changing war that we've ever had, World War II, and the beginning of the liberation of Europe. And so it's kind of a big day in history, and I just want to make that, bring that to everybody's attention. And thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
75
Thank you for the update.
75.
Sure.
I don't have quite as much to share. Career Source, as you know, received their report from the Department of Labor. They had 45 days to respond. Jennifer is working with the Department of Economic Opportunity. I get the acronyms all messed up. I think she's already submitted her information to them. The report really has to come from them. And of course, she's hoping to mitigate some of that $17 million worth of question costs, $5 million on our side. And she'll be working with the DEO about that. We do have a meeting tomorrow, so we should get some more information from both Charlie Harris and Jennifer about what's going on there. Let's see, we had a Child Care License Board meeting. We were pleased to hear that they're increasing slots in both centers and homes when that had been a declining trend for quite a while, and it was getting serious, so it's on the upswing again. I hope that's a good sign. I was able to represent us at the Clearwater Chamber the other day, and I just wanted to say that's really neat that he's gone, but that they're inviting us to come and give updates at them as well as the Mayor's Council. I think that's a good relationship building thing. I was at the Upper Pinellas Clearwater, or what is it? I don't
Clearwater
remember.
Upper Pinellas.
Clearwater Upper Pinellas NAACP banquet with the keynote being given by Leon Russell, who is now the chair.
Oh, my God.
Leon was very inspiring, who's now the chair of the national NAACP.
Yes.
Board director.
Yes, yes. So, doing a great job. We went to a Habitat groundbreaking yesterday, Commissioner Justice and I, for the 75 homes they're building down in the 62nd Street, 62nd Avenue and 69th Street. That's going to be wonderful. And I just wanted to thank our veteran staff. I had a friend who was trying to get arrangements to have her husband, to have a service at Bay Pines for her husband who died a couple of weeks ago. And she was frantically trying to find her DD 214, which you should never lose, apparently, but she had. And they were very helpful. Within 24 hours, they had it worked out, and the service is on Friday, so that was really great. It's great to be able to give her that resource and have confidence that they would take care of it. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Justice?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few committee notes. On PST, I think those security discussions that we started to have are going to be key and important as we balance the cost with providing basic security for our employees. That's respected. June meeting will be interesting because we're expecting a final design on the BRT plan for the Central Avenue corridor, or First Avenue.
RTS.
It's BRT on the agenda, but the First Avenue, we keep calling it Central Avenue, but it's First Avenue plan. So that will be generate a lot of discussion as we're seeing a lot of energy in the community, distributing a lot of information on it. Some of it accurate, some of it not so much, but we'll come to a head at some point soon. We had a great meeting of the Stormwater Wastewater Task Force down at SPC Seminole. Your assistants should have received a link to the Dropbox for the PowerPoint presentation. I want to thank Ms. Ross and her team. A great presentation, a lot of good information, but the presentation is pretty sizable, so that's why it got sent to you by Dropbox instead of direct email. So it's, we're taking a look at it if you get a chance. Gulf Consortium will meet next week in Orange County as part of FAC. Homeless Leadership Board will meet this Friday, and we are in the discussion part of a restructuring of the HLB as far as separating out the continuum care organization versus the nonprofit activities. So that's part of a discussion we're having. Ms. Benedict is coming by this afternoon to educate me on what that actually means, so that I can vote accordingly. Trying to think what else we had here. I think that's it from the committees. You heard the great honor flight event at Seminole Mall was a huge crowd, great turnout to support that organization. I attended the Oldsmar Memorial Day event, Clearwater NAACP event, the Habitat event, which is really, I think, pretty landmark. Not only is it to get that kind of parcel of land in Pinellas County together for affordable workforce housing, but they were doing it not just displacing folks that are in mobile homes, but giving the opportunity for them to own their own home through the Habitat program. So I think it's really, really good, and part of having that being adjacent to Marjorie Rawlings Elementary is a great attractor for folks there. So I think it's just a win-win opportunity. And then I want to thank all our staff that was involved. Mr. Burton, all the way down Sunday afternoon at the Exchange was the Hurricane Prep Day, and it was a huge crowd there. A lot of great information, not only all our departments, but community partners, Salvation Army, Lellman Fire, but it was also great, beyond the merit of the event, it was just great to see that building and that complex alive. It was overflow parking, people from the neighborhoods, but people from the community there. So it kind of is that starting of evolution of what we envisioned when we all decided to purchase that and invest there. So a great thing. And then the last thing is, I don't know if you all received the emails and information from Governing Magazine. I don't know if you don't, Courtney can get you that email, but just in the last, I'm guilty of it, just in the last several months, I've actually started opening all those emails and actually reading through the newsletters, and really, really interesting information from local governments all over the country about issues that we're seeing here, how they're tackling it. And again, I would just call it to your attention for your view. So that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Peters?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of things. A lot of my committees have been covered already, so we don't have to go to that. First, I want to thank Megan and her team for taking us up to Crossbar so we could see everything that's working on up there and the timber, and it's really beautiful. It was a wonderful trip, and I learned a lot. So it was great. I was walking away. I love walking away when I learn something. So she's got a great team up there, and they're really knowledgeable. Also, Kelly and her team, there's some really icky stuff on the water surface in Treasure Island, and a neighbor asked me to come down and take a look at it. It's not like anything I've seen before, and so she made a phone call in less than an hour. There were 3 people from the county, and it's amazing. The response was very quick, and really it was amazing and quick, and they've done a great job, and I look forward to hearing what the issue is, but I'm glad they're on it and moving quickly and swiftly. And their customer service, I can't tell you how many times she just raved about how wonderful they were. So great job to your staff. I did meet with the CEO of Largo Med Thursday, and he didn't mention anything about that. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. He did tell me about the hospital they opened in Las Vegas to help defer the costs that they're incurring at the ERs. The numbers are significant. The other interesting thing, since we've been bringing up security, he got into in-depth detail of the Las Vegas shooting and how it was impacting and what the response was. And it was fascinating that out of the 250 people that made it to one hospital, only 3% made it by EMS transport, which I thought was very interesting, that they didn't have the ability for EMS to, and it was so massive, it was just horrible. But the insight that he shared was incredible, and I honestly think it's worth, if we are ever to look at some kind of just community response on any issue, he has a lot of expertise that none of us could even imagine based on what they did. The #1 closest hospital, trauma center, evidently was closed down and they were redirecting within 6 minutes of the incident, and so other hospitals that weren't prepared got 200 people. If we ever look at some kind of community-wide public response effort, he would be a key person to have there, only because he lived through one of this country's worst, one of them, not the worst, but as far as that kind of tragedy. and the response and how it worked, and where there were mistakes and how they fixed those mistakes. It would be worth looking at Las Vegas and some of his insight. So it was a very interesting meeting, and I look forward to getting to know him better and working closer with him. Also, I want to share a letter I got with from the city of Treasure Island, and it was in the paper, so you may have read it. They took a look at their EMS responses on, there's a group of homeless people that kind of hang out in front of the McDonald's on Gulf Boulevard, and there's one gentleman in particular that they've made in a 10-month period 146 calls on, sometimes 4 times in one day. And it's one individual who has cost, just in transport, $92,000 in 10 months. And again, when we look at return on investment, and I know I'm sounding like just a recording over and over again, but if that young man if we had a Marchman facility and we had the ability to do a Marchman on him, the chances of him having recovery would be significant, and we would be spending a lot less. It's a matter of fact, that one person was 13% of Treasure Island's calls. Now, just the savings on fire transport, not transport, but just fire response, 13% of their total calls were to one person. And so I met yesterday with Central Florida Behavioral Health to discuss return on investment if, in fact, we had a coordinated system of care, and what the return on investment has been with around the 14 counties that they serve, with anyone that does have central receiving facilities, Marchment beds, how many beds, all that equates. So we did a big deep dive yesterday in data as far as what Central Florida, and that's the managing entity that provides the state funding to any programs. And so I have a lot of data I'm happy to share with you, and maybe make it more coherent if you want it in the future. I also met with Denise Grossbeck, because she was part of the Behavioral Health Summit and coming up with the report in 2008 and the recommendations, and I talked to her about some of my ideas and what she thought, and basically that report, the suggested report, and I know Karen, you mentioned it, that's why we went ahead and got a meeting with her, because you suggested that report. And so we read the report and we met with her, and it was very interesting, and her opinion was very helpful to me. And after perusing that report, I'm finding that the needs have not changed. The suggested recommendations necessarily haven't changed. And so I'm looking forward to the workshop on the 11th, because my hope is that we're not just going to present what we're doing. My hope is that we present a much bigger picture on needs and return on investment. So, and it makes a lot of things data-driven, because the data is very telling. So, other than that, I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Real quickly, a couple of committees. The FAC, Finance and Audit Committee, met yesterday. All is well. We're on budget for the fiscal year. We made some minor changes in our portfolio and moved some short-term funds over to the Florida Local Government Investment Trust day-to-day account. I've been reappointed for next year, so I'll be on the Audit Committee one more year. Tomorrow, I'll be attending the Mayor's Council meeting representing us, and I'll speak to the Census Committee that we're putting together for the county and make sure all the mayors know about that. Couple of events, and we talked about the NAACP Clearwater Upper Pinellas meeting that was very inspiring. And we noticed on the way in, there was a long line. The construction is underway from our capital fund, dollars from the bed tax, so it's good to see that money being put to use. A couple of homegoings I want to talk about. We talked about Freddie Lee Crawford. His homegoing service was Saturday at First Baptist. Very well attended. Again, want to thank him for his service in bringing needed changes to the St. Pete Police Department. While I was at that homegoing, Darlena attended the homegoing for Evelyn Gardner. And she was a tremendous leader in nursing, health education, and public health. You may have read about her. She was a co-founder of the St. Pete Black Nurses Association and just mentored and guided many young people into nursing careers. So our thoughts go out to Ms. Gardner's family. And I wanted to end on a note that just kind of highlights, I always say very unashamedly that this is the best commission in the nation, and I mean that. I got a call from the former mayor of Sarasota, and she's a current county commissioner, Shelley Edie, a couple weeks ago, and they are looking at affordable housing. They also have a group like FAST that is working with them, and I think they're connected. I think it's a network. And they kind of were bragging about what Pinellas County has done. And so she came up on Friday. Her name is Shelley Edie. And I want to thank Darlena and also Catherine Driver, who pull some, since she was coming from Sarasota, said pull some South County projects that we can look at that show how we spent not only our housing trust fund dollars, but our land assembly dollars. And it's just good, because there's a lot of NIMBY when you talk about affordable housing. But these projects, you would never know that they were 60 to 80% AMI or for seniors or special needs. Some of them are in the heart of downtown St. Pete. They're brand new. And so we went and looked at 6 of those, very impressed. And just those 6, the Preserves at Clam Bayou, Booker Creek Apartments, Camel Landing Apartments, Urban Landing, and Harbor's Edge, which are right on downtown, brand new. And also Del Mar Terrace South, which is under construction in downtown St. Pete. And that one is 65 units, 10 are at 40% AMI, and 22 are at 60% AMI, and 33 are for formerly homeless. And that's a brand new facility. There would be absolutely no NIMBY if folks saw that and didn't know how it was funded. And so just those 6 projects, that's almost 500 units of affordable housing. And I also shared with her some information from Catherine that shows that we've been able to put on the ground 2,900 units of affordable housing just from local sources and being able to leverage. So they are very excited. They're asking for more information on zoning and land use and the process. And Catherine's been very helpful, so I wanted to thank her for that. But again, the leadership of this commission working with the community and showing how you can do affordable housing, and you can do it with 24 municipalities, and there's not NIMBY because these are places where you'd be proud to live. I just wanted to share that with you, and that is all that I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, and hopefully Sarasota will be able to model their program similar to ours.
Hopefully.
So piggybacking on that, I think I may have mentioned it before, but I'm probably going to mention it every single meeting so that we get this program out. So I met with the Pinellas County Education Foundation with Craig Shear and with other members, and they had requested a methodology by which we could encourage and help new teachers to be able to afford affordable housing. So Catherine Driver from our Housing Finance Authority was at that meeting, and so with very little effort and time frame, I think less than maybe a month later after that meeting, we now have the Community Heroes program, which will provide for those supports the workers who provide some of the most important services to our community in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk. The heroes include full-time pre-kindergarten through 12th grade public and charter school teachers, law enforcement officers, firefighters, EMTs, certified first responders, and paramedics that earn from 80 to 120% of area median income. The program is designed to work through the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta's shareholders to assist in the revitalization and stabilization of local communities with a primary focus on encouraging home purchases. So this is the really cool part. So in addition to downtown payment assistance provided by the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County, the qualifying community heroes will receive a $2,500 forgivable grant at closing to assist with their down payment and closing costs. And so I want to thank Catherine Driver and the Housing Finance Authority. They're working with different lenders in order to move this program out, but it's wonderful that this was done so quickly and will help our community heroes.
Awesome.
So wanted to mention that, and then kind of piggybacking on Commissioner Justice's comment about Governing Magazine. I'm sure you all are receiving the On Common Ground magazine, which is done by the Realtors Association. And if you don't receive it, I have a copy in my office. But they always do some really good articles about affordable housing, about how cities and other areas are implementing good green practices as well as zoning practices. And I always find it worth my time to read that. Finally, I wanted to pass these out to county commissioners. Sorry I didn't bring more copies. But this is a interesting photographic art that was done to portray government workers across the world. And so the photographer went without any notice and just showed up in people's offices, and then as a citizen, and then took pictures of what they saw. So I thought you might enjoy seeing this. It's very telling how it differs across the world, and how some people don't have much paper, but others have a whole lot. So, and then I wanted to report on the Amsterdam trip, and it was very interesting. I have to applaud both our St. Petersburg Clearwater International Airport, because I really, and of course, particularly for this trip, to Tampa International. It's very complicated to get international flights, and we really learned a lot. We had quite a few meetings between the Delta, KLM, and other folks, and then we met the KLM president, and then we also had a very in-depth report at the Amsterdam airport. And so I want to encourage people. We were very, very fortunate to get this Tampa to Amsterdam direct flight. And it's critical that we encourage people to book these flights and to be utilizing them both, going to Amsterdam as well as Amsterdam coming back to us. And we'll be following up. I will be following up with the Visit St. Pete Clearwater staff based on those meetings to kind of move that trajectory forward. I think one of the most interesting things about the Amsterdam airport is they're using that airport as a gateway to the rest of Europe. So there's 22 other areas that they fly to from Amsterdam. So, and they actually, because they have constraints on the number of flights that they are allowed, because of a compact that they made with the city of Amsterdam that expires next year. And it was they've contracted for this before the recession. So they didn't realize that they were already going to reach the ceiling on the number of flights that they can do at this airport. So they literally, Delta gave up a flight that they already had to accommodate us and to introduce the Tampa to Amsterdam flight. So it was a pretty big deal. And so, like I said, I want to encourage everyone who to travel there and to take advantage. They'll be running a lot of good deals. So go online if that's, especially if you're thinking about visiting Amsterdam. I also learned a lot about sea level rising. I took that opportunity to learn more about that while I was there. And the Dutch are extremely innovative, and you just have to go visit one of their windmills that were built in the 1600s and see that way back then they figured out how to move water. And they constructed piles all under the city of Amsterdam to be able to support the entire city. And so it was really interesting, and we have a lot of lessons to be learned from what they've done. So With that, I think we are.
Yep. I forgot to tell you two things, if I may. At the Wildlife Federation event at the Trade Winds this last week, I ran into a constituent from the Paso Grill Tierra Verde area who was complaining mightily about Paso Grill and Dents Channel filling up, you know, that area that we talked about with the channel that was filled up with the sand. And they're very aware that we're renourishing Upham Beach again. And they would like to see us take the sand from down there and bring it up to Upham Beach, because they're convinced that it's the Upham Beach sand that fills up that channel. And if the staff could maybe, I'll have Doyle forward this to you, and maybe the staff can take a look at that.
They're very aware.
I'm sure you are. And I also would like to comment on something Commissioner Peters said, and I couldn't agree with her more, with regard to taking advantage of the experiences that HCA has had with large catastrophic events happening in their hospitals or community. Given that we are entering hurricane season, might be a good opportunity to have Adam come make a presentation to us, because their preparation for catastrophe is unbelievable. I heard all about that when I visited with Dr. Ravi Chari, their president of the Southeastern region. So just for staff or whoever is making all of those arrangements, might be very timely. And Madam Chair, when are we going to do Barry's evaluation? We filled out those forms weeks ago.
We just actually covered that yesterday. It's June the 20th.
Okay, then, thank you.
So, yes,
That's it.
we've got that all scheduled.
We should have a photographer come do pictures of our 7 offices. Compare.
Well, you know what? You'd find the piles of paper in mine.
We already know that.
But remember, I know where everything is.
Yes, you do.
does she.
All right. Doesn't look that bad. Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all very
She
much.
probably does.